is up. We've been through the fire, and now it's time to wake up. We're about to go higher. We've been changed from Hebrews to Negroes. 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 Changed to. It's been a long time coming, but we here now. Hey. Scattered all around the world, hidden in the midst of the nations. We was taken from far away, across the Atlantic, the slave trade. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They came in disguise with their Lord. Their intentions was evil for sure. What kind of people that would do such a thing like this? Yeah. Stacking humans on top of each other, ripping children from their mother.
Here we go again. Okay, so let me bring you all up to speed. For those of you all who don't know, well over a year ago, I did a book review on Ronald Dalton Jr.'s book, Hebrews to Negroes, Wake Up Black America. The video went viral. YouTube got mad. YouTube shut my channel down. Not the video, the channel. And I decided to have Vimeo, pay Vimeo to host the video. And they took my money the first time and hosted my video for an entire year with no issues. June 2022, they took my money a second time and continued to host my videos until last week, November 4th. So kind of interesting that you have an entity that will take your money, not once, but twice. I have not received a refund, which I believe I'm rightfully due a refund. But, you know, they have rules in place so you can cancel within 30 days of paying. But after the 30 days, you forfeit your money. Well, I'm not the one that canceled. My videos were removed. But you know what? But what's the bigger issue here? What's the real issue? Okay. So this book, Ron's movies and books have people so frantic, so afraid that they don't even want to say the title, Hebrews to Negroes. And actually, I just wanted to focus on the subtitle, Wake Up Black America, because that is what they're afraid of. When Black America digests this information, what's going to happen? A lot of people are going to lose their livelihoods because a lot of people actually benefit off of our dysfunction. So a lot of people benefit from us staying asleep. They don't want us to wake up. Started delving into Black history and African history 6 years ago, before I was even privy to this part of my history. I began to wake up. And one of the first things that I decided was, I can't work for this woman anymore. I'm actually smarter than her. Can you imagine all the talent that's in our community? How many people like money off of us if we woke up and realize, you know what, I can do this on my own. I could actually do this better. I can do this. I can do that. That's what they are afraid of. And it's just so much. It runs so deep. Like when you look at our community and you see all of the fast food restaurants, you can't read information like this and then go back going to fast food restaurants and that's your main source of nutrition. You're going to start to cook your own food. So that's going to put them out of business. You can't read information like this and then look in the mirror, still think that it's okay to go and buy someone else's hair, even though your hair, you have bald spots all over your scalp. Your scalp is damaged, but you're going to continue to go buy somebody else's hair. Go to an establishment where the people can't stand you and disrespect you, and you're going to buy hair from them and then attach it to your head. You're not going to keep doing that. You're not going to keep eating an unclean animal that causes hypertension, diabetes, possibly cancer. I don't care how much you love bacon. You're not going to do that. You're not going to read this information and then go back to listening to music that is degrading. But it has a good beat. It has a good beat. But the lyrics are vulgar. You just can't do it. You just can't do it anymore. You're not going to read this information and then go back to, allowing certain people to hang around you. You're not going to get away from here, Net. You're not going to read this information and then keep voting the way you have voted for the past 30 years. I'm telling on myself that's me. You can't do it. You can't do it. You can't do it. And I could just go on and on and on. I could go on and on and on. Just so many things that we just do that we don't question. Why do we do this? Why do we do that? Is this really helping? We got churches in every neighborhood, but yet our neighborhoods are a disaster. So is Christianity really working? We'll start to ask questions. And that's okay. Hebrews to Negroes. I could say a lot more, but I'm going to end it here. Wake up, Black America. And it's really not just Black America, the world.
English.
Look, why my people seek a sign that's right before their eyes. We are in the end times, and that's according to Christ, who is the head of my life. I am the head of my wife. 1 Corinthians 11:3, so that you know it ain't coming from me. But back to the lecture at hand. We in the last days trying to make you understand. Drug dealing, killing you, see war from where you stand.
But the story that's been happening.
Truth, but just listen. If it's been happening, then why haven't you repented? Cause when Christ come back, it's too late. We try to brush it off like toothpaste. Repent and baptize like the word say. Or them demons on your hair like toothpaste. Don't you know they the ones that run this place? And we all live in Babylon the Great. It's not me, but it's what the word spake. We Revelations chapter 18 today. This place is gonna pay, and it's all in scripture. Babylon the Great is falling, I ain't falling with it. He said, come out of her, my people, I just pray we listen. We don't want to be partakers of the plagues that's written. They built borders around our country near 70 AD. Destruction came to those Israelites who didn't flee. Building a wall around America, we see the same thing. Those who do not leave may partake in the mark of the beast. Sheesh, praise the Most High perpetually. That's worth the humble, cause I'm on this beat. The earth will be inherited by the meek. Keep our highest commandments, endure, you will see. Please go to Exodus 3 and 14. Pray to that God and you won't see defeat. I am that I am, he gave me eyes to see. We in the fourth quarter, wake up if you sleep.
Shit, I've been waiting on America to fall. Hebrew writing on the walls. Book breaking on the farm, raping women in the barn, cattle running us with on. Ay, had us eating chitlins, separating mamas from the children. Bloodhounds in the lynching, super wicked, false witness, false claiming white women, yo. Now who you think was ruling Great Britain? Is you kidding Meghan Markle with the first black princess? We was with it, we descendants of the Most High, made in his image. That's why they throwing shade on the people. We betrayed to be ignorant. They gave us these images, they made us effeminate. They made us illiterate, then gave us these sentences to serve. Had us wearing perms, Babylon falling, let it burn like. You don't hear me though. Got us food brainwashing us with Instagram and YouTube. Ain't no brain food, just contaminated food. Bunch of fake news, bunch of fake Jews saying stay tuned. That's why I'm in my BIBLE. I'd rather DIDIE before they send me up the creek. See, I lead taking fathers out the homes, white families this week. Like the Indians and none of them chiefs. Let me
step
speak.
in the court, look around and see nothing but Israelite poverty. Chapter 28 of Deuteronomy. Why kings live in a Gentile reality? See my brothers and sisters who think they are woke, but they really sleepwalking. That bothers me. I want all of y'all's people, no matter their color, to come out together in unity. Wait, whoa, I keep broke. This truth ain't no joke. Our people been broke since we been off the boat. Evil to our own broke. Heart is so cold. City and fear, we supposed to have both nations wait on us, but we wait on a man. When Yahuwah says like no man never can. Try us in wilderness, shot clock is ticking. Get off of the bench and then into the promised
We are not
land.
niggas, we are not black, we are not Negroes. We are not jiggables, we are not slaves. Respect my people. Why? Cause we Hebrew with it. We see through bigots. Bringing that message of our Elohim iPhone, let's see if you get it. It's been a long time coming. My people been underfoot. Look like two-man Taylor neighbor. My people been overlooked, but we on the rise now. We been putting them lies down. No longer suited for this world, so we cutting ties now. It's our time now. Look at your clock. Look, tell me, what do you see? The numbers read 1 through 12. That look like the tribes to me. And if you pay attention to all them little notches that's in between, they represent the nations that's keeping this gospel and trying to cleave. It's fourth quarter, 4th and inches. Is you going for it? 2-minute warning. Mashiach is coming. Is you going toward him? We stand strong, steadfast in his word. In case you didn't know, stay balling on these demons. To the whistle blow.
I got no fear in my heart for a weapon, no fear in my heart but a Psalm 111. They say they coming, we out, we gon' test them. We get the word and divide it in seconds. All of my sisters with me is protected. Claim me a op with a woman's reflection. We need to figure a better direction. All of my homies is throwing up sections. And all the ox showing love is a blessing. Can't hit the club and go chill with the reverend. We spread the word, that's no matter the preference. Will you be yes to deliver this message? They ain't aware of us testing my character, but since I'm dead to my sins, I'm indebted. Peter Jew source, he was ready for war, but forgive and forget, cause Yahweh I said it. We take the block and we build it like Tetris. Everything I did in vain, I regret it. I promise you that His mercy refreshing. The streets took your life cause you let it. You know how I'm bumming, I trust in the Lord, but man, I don't trust it for nothing. They be aggressive on social media, but all buddy in public. Alright, I'm done, homie. It's shot body or nobody. We don't deal with one person, we deal with the whole body. Been through too much to turn our back now. Alright, homie. Get him.
How should I come in? The clock is still running. The ending is coming. That sin is concurrent. Keep his laws if you love him. This is not entertainment, but this is a warning. Yeah, I flow like a current. Well, not like a river, but when power running. Or should I say both? That's hydroelectric, this spiritual exodus. Y'all not getting the messages. It's about to be over, I feel like a pessimist. Y'all don't seem to be stressing this. Treat us like we irrelevant, most I be wanting us. He be sending us messages, and he told me go forth, so I answer the call. Feeling like a receptionist. Whether you read the Bible or not, the end is coming and the body's gonna drop. The one that keep his commandments is safe. The most I separate the wheat from the crop. Said it once, now I'm saying it twice. I swear these demons try to give me a fight. That's why the devil had me missing my flight. Most I told me just deliver it right. It's funny that the airline was spirit. Wait, make sure I'm saying this right. Ironically, my airline was spirit. The Holy Spirit, they be giving me flight. Get it? Airline, spirit, flight. Never mind not explaining it twice. Just realize that these words are precise. Fourth quarter, we the children of light. Shalom. Hopefully.
The following is a written statement, a press release from Hebrews to Negroes, Ron Dalton, Jr. I vehemently deny any allegations made by the Rolling Stones, the ADL, and media that the Holocaust never happened, and that my books and movies make that claim. I respectfully request that everyone take the time to watch my films and read my books, and you will discover that this claim is false. And that my films do not promote terrorism, bigotry, anti-Semitism, or other hateful ideologies. I reject and condemn any forms of prejudice or hatred towards any person regardless of their race, religion, ethnicity, lineage, ancestry, or sex, as well as violence, racism, bullying, discrimination, Black Jew phobia, and the misuse of the term anti-Semitism. The African diaspora that was sent to the Americas and the Caribbean via the transatlantic slave trade are ethnically the Israelites of the Bible, from the lineage of Shem. Therefore, myself and anyone today who is a descendant of Shem's 5 sons cannot be anti-Semitic. As a Shemite, I am against any form of anti-Semitism in America or worldwide. Racism, scapegoating, and non-conforming, as well as unfair tactics that hold communities of color responsible for societal problems, must stop. Kyrie Irving shouldn't receive backlash on a film that I created. This is yet another example of a system that disregards and minimizes the lives of colored people, shows how far from an equitable society we still are. It is our collective duty to create a society where everyone has the same opportunities, irresponsible of their race, religion, ethnicity, or sex. Freedom of speech and freedom of expression should not be seen as an infringement, but unfortunately, based on what we have seen lately in the news, this is a sad reality in America. We definitely have more work to do to fix this. I am dedicated to collaborating with all groups to make it possible for people from all backgrounds to watch the documentary Hebrews to Negroes, Wake Up Black America, just as one might watch the 1977 Roots TV miniseries, which is shown annually every February during Black History Month. The mass media relies on promoting exclusivity, stoking fear, and assigning blame to those that go against their narrative. Everyone should be free to approach their past without worrying that they will be singled out, vilified, and bullied. I implore everyone to take the time to read my books, watch my movie documentaries, then fact check everything so that we all can have a full understanding of the true history of Black people in the diaspora, which is now being told from a different perspective. Using the study of history, theology, geography, cartography, biology, craniology, odontology, genetics, linguistics, archaeology, anthropology, and more, I provide the evidence to substantiate that the information in my visual and literary work is indeed factual. Hopefully, after all this is done, we can begin to forge a nation founded on our complete history. I pray that we are able to continue to bring people together of all backgrounds to embrace historical events and facts that are not detrimental to the progression of our society as a whole.
Baphomet is one of the most striking fiends in Dungeons & Dragons because it has some very serious roots in real life. People recognize the name. Its figure is tantamount to very dark aspects of history and even some interesting present-day depictions. This is the Church of Satan, right now. That statue, that is a statue of Baphomet. Here you can see it in a presentation right in front of the Capitol building in Arkansas in the United States. This is the thing that happens today. And then, in the past, we have a few interesting examples. Quote, the Inquisition claimed that the Knights Templar, a monastic order that gained great power during the Crusades, worshipped an infernal entity known as Baphomet, supposedly depicted by idols of a severed, bearded head. Of course, confessions from Templars were obtained under torture and later recanted, so the validity of this fact remains in question, end quote.
Whether a Satan exists is a matter of belief, but we are certain that Satanism exists. To some, it's a religion. To others, it's the practice of evil in the devil's name.
You don't worship anything. You question everything. And the power that you have comes from within you. That's what's embodied in our principles.
We feel that Satan is polemic, he is allegorical, and he is symbolic. He represents the forces of nature that make mankind something unique and individual.
Satanism, in LaVey's terms, was more about addressing the soul-oriented values of man. He seemed to me like the lone voice of reason.
Are you married?
Oh, yes.
Do you have any little devils?
Oh, yes, I have two.
Are you going to raise them as satanic kids?
Certainly, but not to go around chopping people up or sacrificing human beings.
These symbols of Satanism are turning up everywhere.
Experts say there are as many as 50 to 60,000 human sacrifices a year.
There are no sacrifices. That's all.
Anton LaVey once wrote that Satanism is Americanism. The American values of freedom, individuality, sovereignty, and pride.
I represent this philosophy which is about reason, about self-satisfaction, and that is atheist.
Hail Satan!
I can assure you, Satanism is here to stay.
Welcome back to the Ingram Angle. Imagine walking into your state's capital during the week of Christmas and seeing this monstrosity. It's a so-called art display in Illinois depicting the satanic figure Baphomet as a baby. It sits right next to the Nativity. It's so obvious what the...
good salad.
Ah, Monsieur Solari, Monsieur Solari.
Ouais, puis, c'est un peu- il va faire du jeu.
This is the Marcia Week Show, and we're coming to you live from Barbados.
The other people of African descent were present in biblical history. The Bible is Black History explores DNA evidence and the work of historians and scientists to prove that Black people were part of the Israelite community in the Bible. The book claims the world's first man, identified as Adam, was a Black man from Africa. My next guest is the book's author. Dr. Theron Williams is a pastor in Indianapolis and a Detroit native. Welcome to American Black Journal.
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, so this is fascinating research.
Yeah.
This is something that I've heard people say for a long time, right?
Sure.
That Black people are part of the original human tribes, including in the Bible. But the idea of trying to prove that through DNA and records, I think, gives it an added dimension.
Yeah. The book advances the notion that the people who made the Israelite communities, both in Old and New Testament, were people of color, named people. We know that the world's first man, the father of modern humans, was a black man in East Africa. DNA evidence bears that out. In fact, the National Geographic Society, along with IBM, came together and they put together the Genographic project. It was headed by Dr. Spencer Wells, and it concluded in 2005. It was a 10-year study, and they went worldwide, Dr. Spencer Wells and his team, collecting DNA evidence from indigenous communities worldwide. And they wanted to find who is the father of modern humans. And so we know women have two X chromosomes and men have an X and a Y chromosome. So they studied the Y chromosome and they traced it back 60,000 years to East Africa. And Dr. Wells and his team concluded that the first modern human was a black man in East Africa, whom the Bible identifies as Adam. So we know that through DNA evidence. And then the descendants of Adam obviously would have been black people.
Hi, good afternoon. This is Marcia Weeks, and you are watching the Marcia Week Show. We're coming to you live from Barbados. And today is a very, very, very special program that we're doing. We're coming to you live on YouTube today and also live on Carib Vision. We want to welcome those who are watching on Carib Vision. Going out into 18 different Caribbean countries. We want to say a special hi to the program's manager, Garcia. Hi, Garcia. Thank you so much for just being the work that you do behind the scenes. And of course, as I always say to those who are watching on Caribbean, go and call the neighbor. Call the neighbor and let the neighbor know that we are on today. Now, those of you on Caribbean, if you want to make a comment, if there's anything you want to make a comment on today as you're watching, you see that WhatsApp number going across the screen. You put a 1 before it, and you can always send us your comment via WhatsApp. Those of you who are watching by YouTube, yes, you can comment in the comment section, and we'll be able to read your comments as the program is going live. Now, today we're going to talk all about Hebrews to Negroes. Why are we talking about Hebrews to Negroes? Well, only about a week and a half ago, there's been a big controversy in the U.S. For a lot of us, it's not a controversy, but there's a big hullabaloo over this film, Hebrews to Negroes. And because Kyrie Irving, who is a professional basketball player in the U.S., watched this film and posted on his social media pages about the film. And since that time, there has just been, just a whole set of backlash. He's been told to apologize, which he has apologized. He has, renounced some of the things in the film and thought that it was unfortunate that some things he said were mentioned in the film, and he apologized. But then they're still asking him to do, I think there are 4 or 5 other things that they've asked him to do. One is to donate $500,000 to a charity, and some other things that he has to do, meet with various persons in the Jewish community, etc. And when I saw it, I said to myself, this is quite interesting, because I know that I have watched the film Hebrews to Negroes, and I know the filmmaker. And so I reached out to him, and he's right here in the studio with us today. And he is Mr. Ronald Dalton, and I'm going to just welcome him to the studio. Welcome, Mr. Dalton.
Okay, welcome. Thank you for having me on the show.
Yes, wow, it's great to have you on the Marcia Weeks show today, which is being aired, by the way, on Carivision into 18 different Caribbean countries. And I see Trinidad in the house. Trinidad, locked on and listening by way of Ambassador Reverend Kwame Kamu, and he's from the African Reparations Ministries. Please, Trinidad, and Jamaica is in the house. Avoda, please, guys, share up the live. I think we had the wrong time that we were going to start, but because we are coming live on Carivision, we had to go ahead and start at 1 o'clock. So those of you who are watching from Jamaica and from Trinidad, we need to share this up so that people they hear Mr. Ronald Dalton. Ronald, welcome again to the show. And everybody's talking about Hebrews to Negroes. What's on your mind today?
I've been busy, of course. A lot of people are reaching out to have an interview, but I keep saying the same thing. I'm not going to apologize for the movie or the books, and we can't be anti-Semitic if we are the true Israelites of the Bible, and I can prove that. I can prove that hands down. No rabbi, no Jewish historian can debate me and debunk that. So the whole term anti-Semitic, it's being used, it's being misused and being inappropriately used by people that are not the descendants of Shem. They are not the Israelites, and so they should not be using that word, and we should be using that word, and they should be using the term anti-Japhetic because they come from.
So hold a minute, because you've jumped past a whole set of, because there are lots of people who they never even heard of Hebrews to Negroes before. So even before we get into that, we get it. So you're saying there's nothing to apologize for, because you are Hebrew. You're an Israelite, so why would you can't be anti-Semitic. Can you just start at the beginning? Give us a synopsis of Hebrews to Negroes.
Well, it started off as a book that I published in 2014, and it was called Hebrews to Negroes, Black America. And the book is 700 pages, and the basis of the book is proving that we are the true Hebrews, the Israelites, and a lot of other things. And then after that, I started to make a movie because a lot of Black people, we don't read, and we watch YouTube and look at TV and look at our phone. So I'm not a filmmaker. I just decided to, try to make a movie. I didn't go to school for it. My career was in medicine prior to that, and so once I made the movie, that movie got done in 2018. It took about 3 years to make, and it's just so happens that for 4 years, not a lot of people knew about the movie until now. And so the movie also proves that people, the Bantu people, or the Niger Congo speaking people in Africa, sub-Saharan Africa, are the Israelites. So it means that the people in the diaspora in the Americas and the Caribbean, we are also connected to the Israelites, because if you look at West Africa, from Senegal, Gambia, Sierra Leone to Liberia and the Ivory Coast and Ghana, Togo and Benin and Nigeria, Cameroon, Congo, even into East Africa and South Africa, we are the Israelites. So we all have Israelite ancestry, and this is the synopsis of the book is basically proving through the sons of Ham, the sons of Shem, and the sons of Japheth that we are the Israelites, despite the fact that maybe the Black church or European historians may lead us to believe that we are the children of Canaan or the children of Ham or the Egyptians, or that, things like that. So that's really about it in a nutshell. And the book is causing a lot of fire, the movies too, and the Jews and the ADL. This is the book that they fear the most, because they're going through such great lengths, and it's always on the news that they will not rest until this movie and book is taken down off of Amazon, even though they have other books written by Jews that are talking about their connection is not connected to Israel or the Hebrews, but to a nation of people that came out of Central Asia. So you have books like Mein Kampf by Adolf Hitler, and books by other Jewish people talking about their true identity as not being the Israelites. They're on Amazon right now. You can buy it, you can purchase it. Even books by Henry Ford, the International Jew, and Benjamin Friedman, and a host of other books that talk about Zionism and the lie that the Jewish people are connected to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So these books right now are on Amazon right now as we speak. But the Jews, the Jewish community, the ADL, and the news media outlets, which I call the mass media, they are all in a frenzy, and they will not rest until they take down any place where the book Hebrews to Negroes and movie is on a public platform. People can buy it. They will not sleep till this movie and book is gone, because they don't want you to know the truth. That's the bottom line.
So you're saying that this movie came out since 2018. Yeah. 2018, and it's only now that because Kyrie Irving, who is the basketball player, U.S. American basketball player, when he actually posted about it, then people are talking now about it. I saw online, everybody's asking. Last night there was a whole thread. People are talking about it and saying, where is it? Where can we get it? Etc. But in the book, and I watched the movie, but the funny thing about it, I didn't come away with what I came away with was the history of the Bantu people, and the understanding that those of us here in the Caribbean, that we are connected to to Israel. Can you talk about that a little bit more and kind of break it down for us over here on this side, who, for some people, they've never heard of this before? Can you break that down for us?
Yeah. So of course, in the Caribbean, you have more connections to the culture of Africa than we do in America. The language, the traditions and customs, the food, the dress, these things can be seen in Ghana and Togo and Benin, in Congo, Nigeria. And so when you look at a lot of the things that the people in Africa are doing, like circumcision on the 8th day, naming a child on the 8th day, having a day of rest, believing in one God, of the Creator. Also, having cleanliness laws, like purification laws, if a woman's on her menstrual cycle, or if she's just had a baby, or certain types of dietary laws, laws that pertain when you have somebody that dies in the family. There's many different things, that they are doing in Africa right now that you can read in the Old Testament, in the Torah, in Deuteronomy and Leviticus, and in a lot of the oral history of the people in these countries in West Africa and Central Africa. They talk about how their ancestors left out of Egypt and during the Exodus, and over hundreds to thousands of years, they eventually landed and made it to where they are today. And so in the genetics, in the study of the skulls, the jaw, the upper and lower jaw, the study of language, the Bantu people, the way it operates in accordance to ancient Hebrew. Because ancient Hebrew was more like pictures and symbols, like hieroglyphs, like Egyptian hieroglyphs. You can look at all these things and see the connection between the Bantu people in sub-Saharan Africa and the Israelites. I mean, there's many books that have been written by African-American authors, and then authors that are from the continent. I mean, I've seen this with my own eyes in Ghana. So many books that they have in the bookstore in Cape Coast that tells of the connection of the Akans, or the Ashantis and the Fantis, to the Israelites, including the Ewe tribe and the God tribe. And a lot of these tribes, their languages are seen in the languages of Haitian Creole, or the Jamaican language, or Creole. And the DNA is the same thing too. When you get the DNA, you get your DNA test, your DNA from Jamaica or Haiti or wherever, the Bahamas, is going to connect back to the Congo or Nigeria or Cameroon or Ghana, Togo, Benin. And this just proves that we come from Africa. And if you do your due diligence and research into the traditions and customs and history of Africa, sub-Saharan Africa, you will find out that these people that they put on slave ships, that they were actually the children of Israel. And this is the biggest secret that they don't want you to know about. And it's, there's been plenty of books about these things, but it doesn't get the type of media attention that it should until somebody that has millions of followers actually posts a book or movie link and then says, and implies that people need to check it out. And then now you got the whole world, millions of people that are hip now to this movie and book. And the people that have been telling us for the last 2,000 years that Jesus is white, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob are white, and they're the Jews, and you're just a Gentile, which is not a real man in the Bible. Now the lie has been exposed, and they don't want too many people understanding who they really are, about your identity, because at the end of the day, Christianity is not going to tell you that's important that you understand who you are. Christianity is going to tell you that we're all one people. Just be good. They're going to tell you that Christ is the truth, the way, the light, the truth, and the way, which is all fine. We understand all these things, but we do have a right to know who we are, and God wants us to know the truth. And no Christian pastor can answer the question if you ask them, does God want us to know the truth? They're not going to say no. God does not want us to know the truth. God does want us to know the truth. God is truth. Satan is the father of lies. There's no truth in him. So if we're being lied to for thousands of years, even in Black History Month, what do they teach us in America? They teach us that we're descendants of slaves. The same thing. MLK, Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth, all these people, the slave movies we get in Hollywood year after year after year after year, they never give us some movies to prove that we are more than just slaves from Africa. The word Africa is just a word. This doesn't mean that we descend from a man named Africa that had children called Africans. Just like the word Caribbean is not a real man. He's not a progenitor of the Caribbean people. There was no man named Caribbean that had children called Caribbeans, or a man named West Indian that had children called West Indians. So we have to look at these things and ask ourselves, when we say that we're Nigerian or Jamaican or Haitian, there's no man named Jamaica that had children called Jamaicans. There's no man named Haiti that had children called Haitians in the Bible or in history anywhere, in no book. So we know that the progenitor of the Egyptians is in the Hebrew is Mitzrayim. Just like the progenitor of the Israelites is Jacob. The progenitor of the Edomites is Esau. The progenitor of the Hebrews is Abraham or Eber. So when we look at these things, we have to understand that our people are connected to an ancestry and lineage and heritage. And this goes back to one paternal forefather. And that paternal forefather is not Canaan, it's not Cush, it's not Put, it's Jacob. We are the Israelites. No matter what you want to call it, no matter what you want to call ourselves, African Americans, Haitians, Bahamians, Ghanaians, Nigerians, Congolese, South African, Bantu, Zulu, we are all descended from one man, and that's Jacob. So we are the Israelites.
Jeffrey Gay is saying, thank you, Ronald. Jeffrey Gay is saying, here in Barbados, we still use some Hebrew words. We are predominantly Igbo, and Igbo. I heard that since I've been here, I was educated about that only about a year ago, that Barbados is, and that they have a strong, actually they're Bajans who told me that they knew that they, and I only knew that. But so you were saying, Ronald, that your film, Hebrews to Negroes, is saying that, through oral history, through the culture, the biblical culture and the Bantu culture, through genetics, through art, that you could see the connection, or you could definitely see that those who came on the slave ships, mainly those who came on the slave ships, that they are Israelites. Is that what is that what the book is saying, and what the film is saying?
Yes. So my mom is from Antigua. Her parents from New York.
From Antigua. Okay.
Yeah, Green Bay. And so I got a lot of friends that are Antiguan, and they will tell me, like, Ron, these are older guys, like guys like 7 years old. There's a Ron, Portuguese are seafaring people. They know how to travel the seas. And he said, when I was a little kid, that the Portuguese will always come to Antigua, and they would say to us when I was a child, "Do you know who you are?" And he used to think, like, what is this white guy saying to us? But he said the white guy would tell him and the kids that you guys are the children of God. And he said he never paid it no mind until he got older and got into started reading my books and look at the movies. And then he understood what the guy meant, because he called me out the blue and said, "Hey, brother, I'm your mom's from Antigua. I'm from Antigua. I'm in my 70s, and the Portuguese used to tell us that we are the children of God, and we're just not realizing these things." And it's a known fact, like the brother said, that many of the slaves taken to Antigua and Barbados, they were Igbos. They were the primary slaves taken to these British colonized islands were Igbos. And so the Igbos also have a connection to the Israelites too. There's plenty of Igbos that wrote books on proving their connection to the Israelites. They actually have a place in Aguilera in Igbo land called the House of Gad, and they connect their tribes to Gad and other different tribes as well. So, the Igbos respect their traditions and customs. They say that they are circumcised on the 8th day. They name their child on the 8th day. Before we had the Roman calendar, they observed the beginning of the month, and that they would count like 7 or 8 days for the day of rest. They had pouring of libations, which the Israelites did in the Bible. They had casting of lots. They did sacrifices, and when they would have shrines for that. So whenever you would commit a sin or you would do something bad, if you felt like there was something, you had a evil spirit on your household or your child or your wife, and you felt like you just needed to go to the priest to see what you can do to get this evil spirit or this bad things that are happening in your life. You need to resolve that. So what would they do? They would bring a lamb, they would bring a chicken, they would bring anything they had and take it to the priest or the diviner and have the priest slaughter it and sacrifice it, because they're still doing the ways of the Israelites in the Old Testament. They're still thinking like Israelites, because they are the Israelites. Even though they're Christians, they're things that you see in West Africa. You see the concept of a king, of a chief, of elders, of a priest or a medicine man or a voodoo man or a diviner. You see these things in the scriptures. You see the practice of a patrilineal society where inheritance is passed down from the man. You are what your father is, and your father passes down the inheritance, such as different things. And unless he has no sons, then it can go to the women. It's so many things that you can read in the Old Testament in the Torah, and you can go into Africa, into the village, and you can see them actually practicing this, without a Torah scroll, without a Bible. They're doing this naturally. And if you ask them who told you this, who taught you this, they're not going to say some Jewish man came into our village and had a school and taught us all these things. No, they were doing this before the white man even came into West Africa and Central Africa. So that's how you know that they are the true Hebrews, because who else in the world could be practicing the 613 laws that's in the Torah, the law of Moses, without nobody telling him this?
But I mean, can I say this to you that yesterday I was speaking with a very, very good friend of mine, and he's a Christian brother, and he said to me, but Marcia, yes, a few Igbos came over to Barbados, and they only started to practice some semblance of Judaism way after they got here, because that was after the planters and the Portuguese and all of them, and they probably learned they probably learned about Judaism from the planters, from the Portuguese. What about that thinking that they probably learned about it from white people? Why, his question is, why didn't they start practicing it as soon as they arrived, if it's really was part of them?
Well, you got to remember, when they took the slaves out of Africa, they didn't take the elders, they didn't take the priests, they didn't take the people that were old, that knew the history. Moses, when he was getting ready to die, he told the priests and the elders to recite the book which he wrote down. And when he wrote it down, he said every year at the Feast of Tabernacles of Sukkot that you need to gather all the children of Israel together, and you need to teach them the law or reiterate the law to the children, because he knew that the elders and the priests were the ones that were supposed to be doing that, not the lay people. So when the slave trades happened, if you look at the slave records, they're not sending over people that's 50, 60, 70 years old. They're sending over people that are teenagers and kids. So these kids they still have to learn all these practices. You can't learn the law as a 6 or 7 or 8 year old, a 9-year-old, or a 10-year-old. You have to continuously be taught these things as you go up, so that when you get older, you can then teach your kids this. Because everybody knows that when we go to church on Sunday, we are reading the Bible as kids, but we don't know the Bible. We could say somebody could say recite the 10 Commandments, and you're 13 years old. You don't know how to recite the 10 Commandments. They could say recite the Leviticus 19. Tell me all the laws in Leviticus 19 at the age of 13, 14, 15, and 16. The kids are not going to be able to do that. This is the task of the elders and the chiefs and the priests to teach the children of Israel. So remember, the slave trades disconnected that heritage that we had, especially a lot in America. When you look at the fact that a lot of the things that the people are doing in Africa that have not been disconnected from the slave trades, they are still wearing fringes on the ends of their garments, which is in Numbers 15:38. Fringes are like twisted linen cloth. It's like little things that's at the bottom of your fringes, like what the Israelites wear in America. I've seen this with my own eyes in Africa. When somebody dies, somebody dies in South Africa, in where the Zulus are at, they have to go through a purification cleansing ceremony. And you ask them, what's that? And you say, well, we have to, the immediate people of the house, in the household where somebody dies, like say like if a man dies, like your dad dies, then all the children and the wife, they have to be purified because they're unclean. And then you say, well, how do you do that? They have to go through a ceremony where they have to go through like a bath. You have to use water to purify the person. And sometimes the priest will speak over the water. He'll say something, he'll pour it on you, or you have to get into a tub or lake or river. And by immersing yourself in the water, then you're cleansing and purifying yourself. The other thing that they do, because I was in South Africa, because I moved there 6 months ago, I said, what else do y'all do? And he said, we shave our hair off. And I said, what? And so my Uber driver, he took his hat off and his hair was shaved off. And I said, the women too? He said, yes, we all shave our hair. In the Bible, in Deuteronomy, it says that you should not shave your head when you mourn the dead. So the Israelites were already doing these things back in the day. That's why it's in the book of Deuteronomy. So Moses commanded the Israelites, it said, thus saith the Lord, you shall not shave your head when mourning for the dead. Well, the people in Africa still do that. They're still doing what God told them not to do, because they were already used to doing a lot of these things when they came out of Egypt. So when you look at the fact that the white Jews, they don't do a lot of these things. Like the people in Africa, when they want to circumcise, they want to get closer to God, they want to have a revival or fast or pilgrimage, they will go to the top of the mountain, because the mountain is where they say God dwells. And they say that when God speaks, he speaks the voice of thunder. And these are all things that they're saying. We know that Moses went to the top of the mountain to meet God. And then when the Israelites at the base of the mountain, they heard thunder. Whenever Moses spoke to God, God spoke back, and to them it sounded like thunder. So this is why they always revere the mountains, no matter what country you go to, whether it's Ghana, whether it's the Congo, whether it's South Africa, whether it's Kenya, whether it's Tanzania, whether it's this country, that country. They always look at the mountain as a place where God dwells, it's a sacred place. And so when we look at a lot of these things, even when you look at the fact that the Black Jews that were banished from Spain and Portugal in the 1500s, these Black Jews were sent to Spanish and Portuguese colonies. Well, what are the Portuguese colonies in Africa today? They are Cape Verde, they are Sao Tome, they are Principe, Equatorial Guinea, and then you also look at Brazil. Well, when they did the DNA test of the mass graves in Portugal and Spain, because Spain is bigger than Portugal, they found out that the people that were in these graves, their DNA connects them to the Yoruba people, the Kikongo people in the Congo, and the Mandinka people, like Kunta Kinte, like Gambia and Senegal, Kunta Kinte Island, Goree Island. And so when you look at the Portuguese colonies in Brazil, and also all the Spanish colonies in Puerto Rico, you have a strong Yoruba presence in Brazil. You have a strong Yoruba presence in Puerto Rico. You have a strong Kikongo presence in Brazil. You have a strong Kikongo presence in Puerto Rico. You have a strong Yoruba presence in Cape Verde. You have a strong Yoruba/Igbo presence in Sao Tome and Principe. I know this because I know people from Sao Tome. I know people from Cape Verde, and in their dialect, which is a mixture of African Bantu dialects and Old Portuguese, that you can have somebody that's from Yoruba land, and they can speak to somebody from Cape Verde in their Creole. And they say, hey, brother, you got words that we're speaking over here in Nigeria. That's because the people that are in Cape Verde, which is off the coast of Senegal and Gambia, and the people that's in Sao Tome and Principe, people that's in Brazil that are speaking the Creole language that's mixed with Bantu and Old Portuguese, that they are the Black Jews that were exiled from Spain and Portugal during the Inquisitions. We have to realize that when you go to these countries, Cape Verde, Sao Tome, Principe, Brazil, especially these islands, you're not going to see Sephardic Jews. You're not going to see white people walking around saying that they're the descendants of the Jews that got exiled in Spain and Portugal in the 1500s. These are all, you go to Cape Verde, Sao Tome, and Principe, they are all Black, and they all have the same DNA as people in Jamaica, Haiti, African Americans, Congolese, Nigerians, Ghanaians, Senegalese, Gambians. They have the same DNA on the mother side and the father side. So nobody can say that the white man came there, he mixed with the women of the island or local Africans, and this is why they're Black today. Because if we did that, then overwhelmingly the DNA of the people on these islands will show the DNA of a white man or white Sephardic Jew. And if they said it was the other way around, that white Sephardic women came to the island and started sleeping with the men, the local African men of this island, then you will see the maternal DNA on the mother side in these Black people today on these islands. You don't see that. What you do see is the DNA from the mother side and the father side that is seen all throughout West Africa, Central Africa, East Africa, and South Africa. So that shows you that no white Sephardic Jews got exiled to these Portuguese and Spanish colonies back in the 1400s. Even there's an island called Biako Island, Ferdinando Po. It's probably one of the only islands or parts of Africa that speak Spanish. The locals speak Spanish. They're Black. They're Black people in the coast of Biafra, right below Nigeria. They're speaking Spanish. Well, why are they speaking Spanish? Because it was a Spanish colony. How did they get there? The Spanish sent them there. Who? From where? Spain. What happened? The Spanish Inquisition of the Black Jews, they got exiled to the Portuguese and the Spanish colonies. We have to pay attention to all these things. When you look at Almina Castle was a Portuguese name when it first started off, and you had the Dutch. If you look at Lagos is a Portuguese name. When you look at the fact that the Portuguese took slaves out of the Congo and Angola, we have to understand that the Portuguese and the Spaniards, and then later the British and the Dutch and all these other countries, they knew exactly who we were. And they knew that because of the curses of Israel, that they will be successful in their slave trading, because they knew that the children of Israel did break the law, and that based on breaking the law, it says in Deuteronomy 28:68, I will send your people into bondage by ships, and there you'll be slaves.
Wow. So wow. Ronald, I mean, this is amazing. Listening to you, and you know, I can see the people from the region, the Caribbean region. I see the comments that are coming up, and so on. And so, a lot of people are being, you know, enlightened right now. At least it's going to force them to go and search, you know, because you would have been searching for researching for a long time. But can you talk about Black Americans? Have you retained, based on your research, did you find, have you retained any of the cultures and customs of the Israelites in there in America?
No, most Black Americans, we don't even speak Creole. We speak English. We don't have no evidence in our language that we are connected to Africa, even though our DNA says that. When we get our DNA test, it says Nigeria, it says Congo, it says Cameroon, Angola. The practices that you see people doing in Africa, the foods that they eat, and well, not Africa, the Caribbean, is exactly what you will see in Ghana. People that are Jamaican that came with us to Ghana in 2021, they said this is exactly the same foods that we eat in Jamaica. This looks like exactly like what it looks like in Jamaica and Haiti.
But somebody might say, okay, the food is similar. So I know probably in the South, some of your food might be similar as well. But what about it that makes it Hebrew? You see what I'm saying? Especially for the Black Americans. What can you see in the culture and in the traditions? Have you retained anything in the Black culture in America?
Yeah, hold on a second. Let me just.
Okay, while he's going, guys, please share and ask questions. All right, ask questions. Those of you on Carib Vision, remember that you can send me a WhatsApp if you have a question. Yeah, if you have a question, go ahead and send me a WhatsApp. All right, okay, all right, go ahead, Ronald.
Yeah, so when you look at, so the thing is, you're not going to look at African American culture and see any connection to the Hebrews, because in America, what are we doing? We have rap, R&B, we have our slave food that we eat, chitlins, which is pig guts, intestines. We eat collard greens, macaroni and cheese, black eyed peas, mashed potatoes and gravy. These are things of that nature. Corn on the cob. These things are not going to tell you that you're an Israelite. You know, the traditions and customs are one of the things that people look at as being an identifier of you being connected to the Israelites. But you're not going to find that in African Americans, because we have been severely disconnected from Africa more than the Caribbean. So when you look at us, we are westernized completely. You know, we are doing exactly what the white man has showed us on TV that we think we need to do. So whenever you see movies like Boys in the Hood, Menace to Society, you know, we follow the trends on what we see on TV. And, you know, 1 minute we're wearing afros, 1 minute we're not wearing afros. But, you know, the thing is to figure out how we can connect ourselves back to the Israelites, we have to go back to Africa. You have to go back to the continent, and you have to start researching the people from where you came from. Doing your DNA test is fine. That connects you to that'll connect you to, you know, Nigeria or the Igbos, the Yoruba. But once you start doing your research on these tribes and listening to what they got to say in regards to their ancient history and their ancient traditions and customs that were practiced by their elders, their grandparents in the villages, and you start to break down their language, you start to look at other levels of science, such as craniometry, such as genetics, such as linguistics. You look at archaeology, you look at anthropology, you look at the study of the jaw, you look at the study of infectious diseases, you look at the study of linguistics, you look at the study of ancient maps, also look at ancient history told by the people that lived in sub-Saharan Africa and those around them, like the African pygmies or the Hausa or the Fulani or the white man or the Arab man or any explorer that came into Africa. What did they observe? What you'll find is that you will connect, and then also using the Bible, because we got to use critical thinking and logic. At the end of the day, we know that Moses was mistaken for an Egyptian. We know that Joseph stood there and didn't say anything when his brothers came to get grain, because there was a famine in Israel. Joseph stood there and didn't speak, open his mouth, but they didn't notice that Joseph was their brother that had grown up after a couple of years. If the Jews were white and the Egyptians were black, and the Jews, white people, came down to see to go to Egypt to get grain, and they seen this one white man standing amongst a whole bunch of black people, that look like them. Because remember, the Jews all are white, and many people will say, "Oh, you have a Jew nose, or you look like a Jew," and all sorts of stuff. Well, if the Jews know what they look like, and they know who else is the Jew, and they go into Egypt, and you see this one white guy that's standing amongst black people, and he looks like a Jew, but he's not saying anything, they will say, "Hey, that guy looks like us. He's a Jew. He's an Israelite. Is that you, Joseph?" No, but Joseph stood there amongst the Egyptians, didn't open his mouth, and his brother sat there, and they were looking at him. They didn't know it was him. You know, after years, he grew up. Maybe his bone structure changes. They couldn't really identify, is that Joseph? But he still blended in with the people of that nation, the black Egyptians. So we have to look at a lot of the stories in the Bible and understand that the children of Israel, they mixed with the daughters of Ham. The land of Ham is Africa. So the children of Israel intermixed and had children with the Egyptian women, the Cushite women in Sudan, the Canaanites. And these are all black people. These are all black nations. So, you know, we cannot sit here and say that the Israelites went into Egypt white and they left out of there white. You know, that's a lie straight from the pits of hell. And we cannot look at the fact that when Moses put his hand in God's bosom, that was one of the second or third signs that Moses had to give the children of Israel because they did not believe. God said to Moses, "Put your hand in my bosom." He put it in his bosom, took it out. It was white as snow. The Israelites were like, "Wow, like this is crazy. Like this is like a miracle." You know, and then he put his hand back in God's bosom, took it out. It was restored to his normal complexion. Now, if your normal complexion was white and you put your hand to God's bosom, took it out, it was still white, people would be like, "Okay, so what about that? You know, what did you do?" But if you're black, like,
but wait a minute, we were told that was because he had leprosy.
No, when you look at the medical terminology for leprosy, leprosy is a granulomatous disease that causes all types of lumps and bumps on your face and your hands. It causes your eyes to fall out, causes your fingertips to just fall off. When you type in leprosy, India, Africa, wherever, Hawaii, these people are not turned all white. Any leprous man in Africa or in India is not changed to a white man. That's a medical terminology that's used today. When in the Bible, we got to understand the Bible was transliterated by the Greeks. The Greeks transliterated and translated the Old Testament. So they authorized it. They got the original, or they got the person that knew the stories of the Old Testament, and they took it upon their task to transliterate the stories of the Bantu people. And they took it upon their task to also translate or mistranslate or mistransliterate, which means that you mistake, you do this on purpose. You change the words and the spelling on purpose so that the people they don't know, they're confused. You know, so when you see the word leprosy, we know that leprosy back then, they didn't know about the term leprosy back then. Because think about it. You're going back 3,000 years. We use leprosy today. Leprosy is an English word. Leprosy is an English word. Leprosy is not a Hebrew word. I'm going to say it again. Leprosy is not a Hebrew word. So when you see leprosy in our Bible, we have to understand, even though it says leprosy, when you look at the term of what leprosy does in Leviticus, it makes your skin white. It makes your skin white. What makes your skin white today in the black community? Vitiligo and albinism. Vitiligo. I know a man that had vitiligo and now his whole body's white. He had complete vitiligo, kind of like Michael Jackson. But he showed me pictures of himself when he was black. Like black is like somebody in Nigeria. And I said, "You have vitiligo?" He said, "Yes." I said, "This is what I look like back then. This is what I am now." He was white. He was white. He wasn't white, but he was a black man that looked like he was albino. But you know, you could see little spots of brown on his skin, but to the naked eye, he looked like he was white. Albinism is what makes black people born white, and they have orange hair or yellow hair or whatever. There is no disease in the white race that makes them the opposite color. There's no disease genetically that can make white people born black or born with the same skin tones as South Indians or black people. It does not exist. It's only the other way around. So if the Israelites were a people of color and it was taboo to be born or to have any type of hypopigmentation disorder on your skin, where your skin is white or your whole body is white, that they say, "Oh, this is a curse. We have to go to the priest to do something about this." This means that these Israelites were people of color. And where do you see vitiligo and albinism the most? in terms of race, in terms of races. You see it in the black race. What black race? The black race that's in sub-Saharan Africa. Not the African pygmies, not the people in South Sudan, not the people in Somaliland. It's the Bantu people. The Bantu people in sub-Saharan Africa, they exhibit vitiligo and albinism more than African pygmies, more than the Nilots in South Sudan, more than Somalians, more than Tuaregs in Libya, because there's a lot of black people in Africa. You got to remember that. But we exhibit vitiligo and albinism more than any other ethnic group in the world, just like the Bible states in Leviticus.
Wow. So you know, I want to know. So the people who are in Israel now, and who we revere as the Jews, and we are told from I was a little girl, you don't speak anything negative about the people who are there now. Are they one of the tribes of Israel? Are they also, you know, what has your research taught you about them? Are the Bantu people one tribe of the 12 tribes, and they are also part?
In the Bantu people, you can find all of the 12 tribes. Now, I'm not saying that all the 12 tribes are just in Africa, but the white Jews that are in Israel, they are not the Israelites. I'm gonna say it again: the white Jews in Israel, the Ashkenazi and Sephardic Jews, they are not the Israelites.
So, but if you're saying though that you can find in the 12 tribes are you can find black people in the 12 tribes. Who's to say you can't find white people who are part of the 12 tribes or Indian people? You know.
Yeah, because the Ashkenazi Jews, you have to look at the fact. Noah had 3 sons: Ham, Shem, and Japheth. The Jews will say Japheth. And in the Bible, the Israelites were only mixing with the descendants of Ham, and the land of Ham is in Africa. And of course, there were descendants of Shem. The true Shemites were not people of white skin. I mean, this is many different documents portray that Shemitic people were brown-skinned people. They were almost the same complexion as Ethiopians. They had different phenotypes, you know, depending on, you know, who wrote these accounts. You know, in terms of the nose, you know, some people have a wide nose, some people have a slender nose, some people have the nose is not coming down, it's kind of up like this. You look at the skull, some people's skulls are round, some people's skulls are slender. On the side of their head, some people's skulls are more rounded, some people's skulls are more oval. When you look at the jaw, when you look at a lot of the angles of the face, you will see differences between, you know, people that are in East Africa, Central Africa, South Africa, and West Africa. But when you look at the history of how Jerusalem was invaded by the Romans and the Greeks, and then at that the Second Temple was destroyed, and a lot of the people that were in that land that were converts to Judaism, like the Romans, the Greeks, the Edomites, they had to leave and go somewhere. If they really worshiped Judaism and the Second Temple was destroyed and the Romans took control of that area, now they had to decide whether they're going to live under Roman rule and persecution, now that their temple and their religion was kind of dismantled, or they would have to leave and go somewhere. Now they would have to leave and go somewhere that they can survive and blend in, at least not have a lot of trouble, because when you try to leave and go down to sub-Saharan Africa and you are white Romans and white Greeks, then you're gonna have trouble. You're gonna have trouble because you're gonna be around people that don't look like you, and white people don't want to be around black people in a climate that is hot. You know, it's a reason why a lot of people, white people, are not living in Uganda or the Congo or Benin or Cameroon or Nigeria. They don't want to be around nothing but black people and then have to endure the tropical climate in that area that's close to the equator. They would rather be somewhere where the climate is a little bit more or less hot. It's more temperate, like South Africa, or closer to the north, where it's closer to the Mediterranean Sea, and so they can catch a boat and go to the other side to Italy and Greece. And so white people at that time, the Greeks and the Romans, they didn't all leave Israel and go into the heart of sub-Saharan Africa. They went to other places. But you got to understand that the Ashkenazi people, they are a combination of multiple nations throughout Western Europe, Eastern Europe, Scandinavia, the Germanic lands, Magna Germania, also the Pontic Steppes, where you have the Black Sea over Ukraine. You have the Sea of the Khazars, the Caspian Sea, also going into the Altaic Mountains, going into Central Asia, into Russia. The Jews today are a white nation that are descendants of multiple nations of Japheth. Now, Japheth, like I said, is one of the sons of Noah. And these sons of Noah, they all lived in the northern part of the world, going from Western Europe, the British Isles, Scotland, Wales, Ireland, all the way over to Central Asia. So these people over time would convert to the religion of their choice. Before they even heard about Judaism, they were pagans. They worshiped their own gods. They had their own language. They had their own traditions and customs. They had their own culture. They had, they had everything that was identifying them, because they are the ancestors of these people. But when you convert to a religion called Judaism or Christianity or Islam, then you start to take on a new culture. The Ottoman Turks from Turkmenistan, they were pagans. They spoke the Turkic dialect. You see this in the Turkish language in Turkey. They left that area in Central Asia, right next to the Sea of the Khazars or the Caspian Sea. They could either go around Ukraine and down through the Caucasus Mountain regions to the Asia Minor and Turkey, or they could go down through northeastern Iran. Because remember, Turkmenistan is right above northeastern Iran. They just have to go down and then go west, and then eventually they'll get to Middle East and Asia Minor. So when these Ottoman Turks that were pagans and speaking the Turkic dialect, when they started to embrace Islam, then they started taking on the culture of Islam. So instead of calling God Tangri or Tangri, now if you ask a man in Turkey, what do you say for God's name? They're going to say Allah. Allah is Arabic, but Arabic is not Turkic. Arabic and Turkish are two different languages. So if you ask a man that's in Turkey, hey, how do you say God in the Turkish language? He's not going to say Allah. He's going to say something else. If you pay attention to what he says and you write it down, you say write it down in English. He's going to write it down, and you trace that word back. That word's going to go back to Central Asia. Central Asia. So the Ottoman Turks in Turkey, because we know about Ottoman Palestine, Ottoman Iraq, Ottoman this, Ottoman that. The Ottoman Empire, they came and they conquered. They conquered Turkey. That's why the Constantinople is not a Greek city. It's an Arab city called Istanbul. Are they speaking Greek in Istanbul? No, they're speaking Arabic and they're speaking Turkish. Why do they speak Turkish? Because their ancient ancestors came from Turkmenistan. And so the Jews today have the same DNA as the people in Turkey, the people in Lebanon, the people in Palestine, the people in Iraq, the people in Iran, the people in Jordan, the people in Israel, the white Arabs. The white Arabs and the white Jews have the same DNA on the mother side and the father side. They are the same people. Why are they the same people? Because they came from Central Asia and the Pontic Steppes, right above the Black Sea, the Sea of the Khazars, the Caspian Sea, in all these areas. So we have to understand that over time, if this is what they did, they didn't have no laws that said that you have to, keep everything within the father. Everything has to be within the father's inheritance. It's a patrilineal society. If that was the case, then wherever they would move, the men would have strict rules on who the women can marry. Because remember, at the end of the day, your inheritance is based on your father's house. So if you were a woman, why would you go marry a Greek and a Roman and a descendant of Togarmah or Ashkenaz or Rephath or Javan or Meshach or Magog or Tubal? If you were an Israelite woman and you knew that your pedigree came after your father's lineage, and if you wanted your kid to be a king or a priest or anything and have inheritance, you're going to marry an Israelite man. You're not going to marry some white Greek man as an Israelite. So when these other nations that converted eventually to Judaism, when they did that, they didn't care. They were marrying who they wanted to marry. So when you look at African Americans, you look at, say, West Africans like Ghanaians, the majority of their Y DNA from the father is going to be one DNA, E1B1A, one, just one. Now, when you go to let's say, for instance, the Australian Aborigines, before the white man got to Australia, there was the Aboriginals there. If you go to them and check their DNA, they are not going to have 5, 6, and 7 different DNA haplogroups based off of their father, because they are all one people. They moved there, hundreds of thousands of years ago as a people. They're keeping everything patrilineal, and they're practicing their own traditions and customs, their culture, as the way it was taught to them many years ago. They are going to have one particular haplogroup, C. If you go to the African pygmies in the Congo, they're little, they're short black people. They are homogeneous people. They have their own tradition, their own culture. And if you check their DNA, they're going to have one father paternal haplogroup, B as in boy. When you go to the Andaman Islands in the Bay of Bengal, where we have these real jet black dark people that shoot bows and arrows, and white men are scared to go there because they don't want to be killed by an arrow, because they never seen a white man before in their whole life. And the Indian government says you can't go there unless you go into this bus that's heavily guarded with this and that, because the natives will shoot you with arrows if you get out the car. Well, they have one particular DNA from the father, D as in dog. However, when you look at the Ashkenazi and Sephardic Jews, they have the haplogroups from the father. This is from the father. Every father passes down to their son a Y chromosome. The Y chromosome is like a tag, you're it, like you're all what your father is. So in black people in Jamaica, the majority haplogroup is E1B1A. Just like it is for African Americans, just like it is in Nigeria, just like it is in the Congo, just like it is in Ghana, just like it is in Togo. When you look at the Ashkenazi and the white, R1A, R1B, E1B1B, J1, J2, G, and you can start reciting the whole alphabet. What does that mean? That means that they're of a nation of multiple fathers from different parts of the world. This is not what an Israelite did. An Israelite, they moved from one place to another place. They retained their tradition, their customs, aka their culture. They kept everything under a patrilineal society, meaning that you cannot be a king unless your dad is a king. You cannot be a prophet unless you're an Israelite prophet. You cannot be a priest unless your dad is a priest or a Kohanite. You can't do that. You can't do that if your dad is a Gentile. You cannot be an Israelite king if your dad is a Greek or Roman. Every Israelite king in the Bible, their father was an Israelite. Their father was not an Egyptian. Their father wasn't a Cushite. Their father wasn't an Arabian. Their father wasn't an Edomite. Their father wasn't a Greek or Roman. Their father was an Israelite. That's how the patriarchy worked in the state in ancient Israel. However, the Jews today, they will have the same DNA as Christian, atheist, white people. They will have the same DNA as modern Arabs we see today, the white Arabs, and yet they will say that their people are the true Israelites of the Bible. But then the Arabs that we see throughout the world and the white people that we see from Western Europe to Eastern Europe to the Caucasus Mountain region with Dagestan and Georgia and Armenia, even going to Russia and Central Asia and Scandinavia, they have the same DNA as them, but these guys ain't saying they're the Jews. They're not saying they're the Jews, but the people that we see today called the Ashkenazi and Sephardic Jews, why is it y'all got the same DNA as everybody else, but everybody else seems to forgot their identity? They're not saying that they're Jews. They're not speaking Hebrew. Why is that? It's because Jews today, their ancient language is based off a Slavic tongue, a Germanic tongue, a Turkic tongue, and they went to Hebrew school after they had been learning English, well, not learning German and Slavic language and Turkic languages. They at some point in time they went to Hebrew school and they started incorporating Hebrew into their mother tongue, and that's why you have Yiddish. Now remember this: when you're living in America as Black people, we are learning how to speak at the age of 2. We're learning how to talk and speak English at the age of 2. In Nigeria, the kids, especially back in the old days, they were learning how to speak Igbo at the age of 2. When you look at a lot of the pictures of Hebrew schools in Eastern Europe, and they're learning Hebrew, you know they're learning Hebrew because you see the teacher in the classroom writing Hebrew letters. Now remember, why is she writing Hebrew letters? Is she speaking to the kids in Hebrew, or is she speaking to the kids in their mother tongue, German, Slavic languages, Turkic languages? It's because when the kids were born at an early age, when they were newborns, at 1 year old, 2 years old, before they even went to Hebrew school, they already had a language. They already could speak. When you send your kids to elementary school, the kids know how to speak. In America, when you send your kids to school, they know how to speak. You don't send your kids to school and they're mute. They don't know how, they're just babbling. Blah, 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 blah. No, when you send your kids to school, they are already able to speak. They know how to speak. The teacher has to be able to communicate with them. They can't just look at the teacher like, what is she saying? Blah, 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 that, mama. No, they speak. So in the household of the Jews, the Ashkenazi Sephardic Jews, they already were speaking their mother tongue. Then they checked in the Hebrew school, and you have a white lady or a white man that's now saying, okay, class, we're going to teach you how to read, write, and speak Hebrew. And after a period of time, what happens? Then they call it Yiddish. They call it Yiddish. The reason why Yiddish is not spoken in Israel right now, especially in the youth, because now they are teaching their children Hebrew from the time they are born to the time they go to school, because they are not in Germany, they are not in Poland, they are not in Czechoslovakia, Austria, Prussia, they're not in Russia, they're not in these other countries where they came from, where they really are descended from. They are in the land. Black people that left Chicago 50 years ago and went to Dimona, Israel, the African Hebrew Israelites, some of them have not even been there for 20 years. They can speak fluent Hebrew. I know black people to this day that are younger than me that can speak fluent Hebrew. They can read and write it. They've been in Dimona with Ben Ami. It only took them like a generation for their kids to learn how to speak Hebrew. They can speak English, but some of them probably are there so long that they don't know how to speak English. They speak Hebrew. But this is the thing. Just because somebody's speaking Hebrew don't mean anything. Just because you got Hebrew in your Yiddish language don't mean anything. A Chinese person can learn how to speak Hebrew. A Chinese man can learn how to speak Igbo. A Chinese man can learn how to speak Fanti and Twi in Ghana. I've seen it.
My mic is muted. Sorry about that. But so Ronald, you're saying that the people who are in the Holy Land right now, what we call the Holy Land, right? That geographical location, that they're not the Israelites and they're not Jews. Is that what you're saying?
So, okay, so this is the thing. Everybody, when you go to Ezekiel 38, everybody knows about the Battle of Armageddon. The Jews today are the children of Gog and Magog. They are the descendants of the people whose original homeland is the land of Gog and the land of Magog. So everybody needs to understand this. When you look at the Battle of Armageddon, there was a massive army. They call it Gog and Magog. But there's other nations that are listed in Gog and Magog's army, such as Persia, Cush, and Put. Cush is like in Sudan, and Put is in modern-day Libya. Not the white Libyans, but the people that were black. So when you look at outside of these nations, you got Togarmah, you got Gomer, you got Magog, you got Meshach, you got the land of Gog. These nations of Japheth, Gog and Magog's army, the Jews today and the Arabs, because they have the same DNA, they are the descendants of Gog and Magog's children. They are the children of Japheth, not the children of Shem. They are descendant of white nations, white Japhetic nations. Their DNA, you can go to the United Kingdom, Wales, Scotland, Ireland, you can go to Iceland, you can go to the Faroe Islands, you can go to France, you can go to Germany, you can go to Austria, Poland, you can go to these other countries. The Jews are going to have the same DNA as the people that's in these lands that don't identify as Jews. They're just Christians or they're atheists. The Jews have their same DNA. So we have to ask ourselves, why is the DNA of the Jews seen all over the European lands, even going into the Caucasus Mountains? Because they are people that have not been in Africa. They have not been in captivity under the Egyptians or Moses. They did not leave with Moses in Exodus. They did not mix with any African women, as the Bible says that they did. They are people that have converted to Judaism, and they are people that are of a religious organization, or religious,
So you're saying the people who are there now, because I'm trying to make sure I understand it and to break it down for those who are watching from the different islands. So you're saying that the people who are in the Holy Land right now, they have converted to Judaism.
Yeah.
So they are Jews because they've converted. So they're converted. I got you.
Right.
Okay.
It's
But
because,
they're not that wasn't their, that's not their DNA.
No, because you got to remember, you have Georgian Jews in Georgia, They have the same DNA as people that are not identifying as Jews in Georgia. You have Turkish Jews. You have Kurdish Jews. If you check their DNA of the Kurdish Jew and the Kurdish, if you check the DNA of the Turkish Jew and the Turkish, you check the DNA of the Iraqi Jew and a regular Iraqi that follows Islam, or Iraqi that's Chaldean that practices Christianity, their DNA is the same. If you check the DNA of a Lebanese person that practices either the Jews religion, Christianity, or Islam, their DNA is the same. If you check the DNA of a Moroccan Jew and a Moroccan Arab, their DNA is the same. You check the DNA of a person that says, I'm a descendant of Jacob, and he gets his DNA test, and it's the same DNA as, say, like Queen Elizabeth or Prince Charles. You got to ask yourself, well, is Prince Charles a Jew too? Because he has the same DNA as you.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah, so if the guy says, I'm a Jew, my DNA is R1B, I'm a Jew, then Prince Charles might have the R1B DNA, so he's a Jew too.
So you're saying they're converted. These people are being converted to Judaism, and they're the ones. Okay. So guys, this is what Ronald Dalton. We're talking to Ronald Dalton, and he is the filmmaker for that film that everybody's talking about right now, Hebrews to Negroes. And you can get the film on Amazon, or you can get it from his website as well. What's the name of your website?
Well, I got breaking news for you guys. So the ADL and the Jews, because the movie has been streaming on Vimeo.com or on demand for 4 years. For 4 years, Vimeo on demand did not touch this film. They did not touch it at all. However, in light of the Kyrie Irving incident, Vimeo is removing any videos that has anything to do with Hebrews to Negroes, because I know some people that had some videos that were talking about the book in the movie Hebrews to Negroes. So it's a video that's a book review video. All they're doing is sitting down talking about the books Hebrews to Negroes. They had their videos removed from Vimeo. The other day, I went into H1 TV, and the video was gone. I got an email from the people that built the platform, because remember, everybody needs to understand this. Unless you build it from scratch, like Netflix is built from scratch by who? Not black people. Amazon is built from scratch by who? Not black people. Voodoo, Tubi, HBO Max, Showmax, Showtime, Paramount, all these streaming apps that we like to look at, they are not built from scratch by black people. Black people just do not have a major platform that they can make movies and then put it on the movies so it can be seen by the whole world. They don't have that. So whenever you use a company that says that you can stream your movie on here, we'll host it, you can pay this amount of money a month, or we'll get $1 off of every subscription, or whatever it is. They got to make money too, and they have the platform. They have the ability to have the servers, the storage. They have the other nations have done this. They've done this well. So we got to go to them for everything. Unless you do it from scratch, and you control your own Hollywood, then they're always going to have control of what movie theater shows your movie, if Amazon shows your movie, if Netflix shows your movie. And so they took down the Hebrews to Negroes film off H2 and TV. Now they didn't touch all the other video content that's on there. They're probably searching on each video to see which one is considered anti-Semitic or hate speech, to see if they can take down as many videos if they can that give light to the fact that we're the Israelites and they're not. This is how much they fear. They fear this in the depths of their soul. They go to sleep, wake up in the morning, thinking about Hebrews Negroes. Is Hebrews Negroes still on Amazon? We got to get it off. We got to keep pressuring Amazon to get it off.
So is it no? It's not on Vimeo, and is it still on Amazon? At least
it's on Amazon. The reason why I believe it's still on Amazon, because when you submit a film on Amazon as an independent filmmaker, you can't just upload it like YouTube and then get like a copyright check or whatever in a couple minutes. You can't do that. As a filmmaker, when you submit a movie to Amazon, they go through what's called a content review screening process. and they have to look at your movie, make sure that it meets all the qualifications. If you have advertisements in your movie, if you have certain things, they'll kick it back and say no. If you have things that violate their content guidelines agreement, like hate speech or discriminatory speech or nudity or pornography or terrorism or different things of that nature, you know, they will deny it. The reason why I know is because I've submitted some movies before, and for whatever reason, they'll have the reason why they deny it. It don't have to be content review; it could be something else that they can just give you a broad statement. It was rejected because of this, and you're like, well, can you explain? Can you break it down for me? Can you give me the timestamp where the violation occurred so I can maybe fix it or edit it out? They don't give you that. They don't give you that because you see, you gotta remember, they don't. If they tell you on this timestamp at like 10 minutes and 50 seconds that these words or this comment is not acceptable, okay, you can go in there and you can edit it out. You can edit it out and then send it back to you. But they don't allow you to do that. They don't tell you what the timestamp is on what the violation occurred. But in terms of the movie Hebrews to Negroes, the first movie and the second movie, I had to wait like 3 months for them to approve the movie through the screening process. I kept asking them in the email, how long does it take? Are y'all done? What's going on here? You know, can you give me some feedback? And they were like, we're still working on it. We're still screening it. We'll let you know when it's done. You know, either it's going to be rejected or published. And the publishing approval gives you a green circle with a check. And so I said, okay. So after 3 months, they finally approved it. And I said, okay, great. So now I can go on Amazon. People could buy and rent it. And this happened 4 years ago. Nothing has changed since 4 years ago. They still had on the content review guidelines, hate speech, discrimination, all that stuff, which hasn't changed. And my movie has not changed. It's just that now, 4 years later, that the Jewish people and the ADL are finding out about this movie that's detrimental to what they teach the world, that they are the true Jews, that they want this movie down. Because remember, the whole movie, if you watch it, is not about the Holocaust. It's not about
because that's something I want to ask you, because I remember watching it and I didn't remember it being about the Holocaust. I mean, did your movie say that the Holocaust did not happen?
No, they're going off a quote. They're going off a quote by a Jewish man named Harold Wallace Rosenthal. Now, he said in 1976 as a Jew that there were some things that the Jews have been teaching. And so when we look at these things that what he said in the quote, he a lot of people have a speculation on the number of people that may have that died, right? And so his quote was basically not agreeing with the number of people that died. This is a Jewish man talking in 1976. And so based on that, people overread that and they take it out of context, and they say, oh, because this Jewish man's quote that he disagreed with the number, because of that, the movie denies the Holocaust.
Okay, so hold a minute, just a minute. So you had somebody in the movie, you were quoting from someone in the movie, in your movie, who was saying that he had a problem with the total number of Jews who are said died in the Holocaust. Is that mentioned in your movie? Because I can't remember it being said.
There's a part where his quote is in the movie in regards to in regards to him saying that we're not the Israelites, and he disagreed with the number because the number is 6 million. And based on that quote that he said, people ran with it and said, oh, Ron Dalton denies the Holocaust. But if they read,
guys, hold a minute, let me break it down, because I need for the people who are watching to be educated on what's going on. I know, Ronald, that we've gone over time, and guess what? The station is going so well. The station just said, you know what, you could go a little longer. So just hang on, because this is when you research this movie, those of you who are watching, one of the things that they said that the movie says is that the Holocaust did not happen. And I remember distinctly watching the movie, and that was not what this movie was about. And so Ronald Dalton is saying, you know, he's a filmmaker. I'm a filmmaker too. And so he's looking at researching the entire thing. And there was a Jewish historian who said, did not say it didn't happen. He said the numbers that he as a Jew, he had a problem with the numbers. Okay. And that was it. But the book does not do that. So, which brings me, not the book, the film doesn't do that. Let's go back to Kyrie. What about the film then is so anti-Semitic? If the film is not advocating that the Holocaust did not happen, what is it about the film that is so anti-Semitic that he, you know, is now being banned from 5 games I'm seeing here?
Well, we have to understand that if I'm a white man, let's say I'm from Belgium. I'm from Belgium, and I do a documentary on King Leopold. And in the documentary, I say that I don't believe that 10 million people have died in the Congo. If that's in the documentary or the book, if that man put out a book or a documentary that he wrote about King Leopold, this man's from Belgium, and he says that I don't believe that 10 million people died in the Congo, that's fabricated. Or he can just say, I don't believe that 10 million people died. The facts show that only 5 million died. Nobody's going to say to him, this is anti-Semitic. Remove it from Amazon. They're not going to say that. They're not. The black community is not going to say, or even the people in Congo, they're not going to say, take this book down, take this movie down. This guy is saying that 5 million people died in the Congo when many people say it was 10 million. They're not going to be in an uproar. The media in Africa is not going to be in an uproar to tell this Belgian man to take down your movie and your book from Amazon because you're miscalculating the number of people that died in the Congo. They're not going to do that. And so when they say that the movie is filled with anti-Semitic tropes, well, if you ask somebody to watch the movie, was this movie all about anti-Semitism? They're gonna say no. You say, what was the basis of the movie? And they're gonna say, well, the movie is proving that black people are the Israelites. Throughout the whole 3.5 hour long movie, the movie is 3.5 hours long. So how could they sit here and say that the whole movie about us proving that we're the Israelites is full of anti-Semitic tropes? They're making it seem as though the whole 3.5 hour long movie is about speaking about persecuting and hatred of the Jews. When you watch that movie, you're not going to see the movie talking about persecution, hatred, and discrimination of the Jews. You're going to see facts that proves that the people that we call the so-called Negro are the descendants of the Israelites. That's the basis of the movie. But because they don't want you to watch the movie, because they want it down, they have to paint the narrative to the public that is full of anti-Semitic hate speech, bigotry, all this stuff they're using, and it's completely false because they don't want you to watch the movie. They want you to discredit it. They want to ridicule it. They want to do a character assassination attempt by defaming the author in the book of the movie as conspiracy, because they know that if people start to catch wind to this book and movie across the whole world, they're going to start waking up. They're going to start scratching their heads. They're going to start saying, oh, wait a minute now. Is there some type of secret plot to keep this secret away from us?
Yeah, and that's why I say to people, watch the movie yourself, because I didn't see the hate in it. I see people trying to find their identity, which is what this young man here, Kyrie Irving, said, that he was trying to research his name. Can you imagine something so innocent as he's trying to research his name? He met upon this film because he was trying to research his name. His name said, his name was Yahweh. I think he said his name meant, and it led him to this film. But they are now, attributing all of this thing to the film. Let me ask you though, Ronald, based on your research, is it that you as a person, you're denying that the Holocaust happened?
No, because in my books, because I just, I know what's in my book, and I actually went to the chapter that I talk about the Holocaust, the number of people that died in the Holocaust, the black people that were also killed in that time of the World War II in Germany, because Hitler didn't like black people either. And so there's the Luxembourg Treaty, the transfer agreement. There's a lot of things I talk about in the book. And in the book, you're not going to find nowhere in the book where I say that the Holocaust didn't exist. Nowhere in the book you're going to find that. Trust me. I read the book.
Right. And it's not in the film. And it's not in the film either.
It's not in the film. So they are, once again, they're lying. They're lying.
It's a lie. It's a lie. I thought so. I thought so. And your background is that you grew up in the Christian faith, right? What's your faith right now? Who are you? As a person of faith, what faith are you?
I still believe in salvation through Christ. I believe in baptism of the Holy Spirit, speaking in tongues, and water baptism, just like Christ told Nicodemus. I still follow both parts of the Bible. The only thing is that I teach that our identity is important and that we need to understand who we are. Aside from that, the doctrines that were taught to me in the Christian church, in terms of the Gospels of Christ, is still the same. Salvation is not just for the Israelites; it's also for those that accept Christ as their Lord and Savior. So and you can read my books and you can find this out for yourself. So it's just that the fact that the matter is that being a Christian is not your identity. If somebody says, "What's your identity? What's your heritage? What's your lineage?" You cannot say Christian, because there's no man in the Bible named Christian that have children called Christians. So you can be a Christian, but your identity is an Israelite. You can be a follower of Christ, or you could be however you want to call that. But at the end of the day, if you want to know what your ancestry and your lineage is and your heritage, it goes back to Jacob, who was renamed Israel. So that's what we have to get straight. A Muslim is a follower of the Islamic faith, but that's not his heritage. That's not his lineage, his ancestry. A Muslim could be a Chinese guy. He could be from Pakistan. He could be from Bangladesh, but that's his lineage and ancestry is not to some man named Islam or Muslim, and he had children called Muslims. His heritage and lineage and ancestry goes back to the people that are the progenitors of the Bangladeshi people or Pakistani people or the Chinese people. So we have to get that straight. We use these terms all the time. I'm a Jehovah's Witness. I'm a this. I'm a that. I'm a Seventh-day Adventist. I'm a Christian. So we got these are all fine to use. But at the end of the day, if somebody asks you in church, who am I, or who are you? You should better answer the question. I'm an Israelite. And if the pastor is not telling you this, then you need to know. Okay, I'm supposed to be a Christian, and I'm black. But black is a race, Christian is a religion. I say, what is my identity? What is my ancestry? What is my lineage in terms of the sons of Noah in Genesis chapter 10? Where do we come from? He should be able to tell you, oh, you're an Egyptian, you're a Canaanite, or you're an Israelite. If you read the book Hebrews Negroes, if a black person or anybody comes in the church and says, who are these black people right here? Who are we according to the Bible? Are we connected to the Bible? Noah's sons? He should be able to say, yes, you are connected to Noah's sons. You're connected to the Israelites, Jacob, through Abraham. And that's a valid question that any pastor should be able to ask, because the pastor knows that the truth is important. And if you ask the pastor, I want to know the truth. If you know, what is our ancestry and our lineage, the progenitor of black people in America, in Africa, in Sub-Saharan Africa? And if he knows and he's done his research, he can say, well, your ancestry, your lineage goes back to Jacob. Not you're a Christian and just sit down somewhere and be quiet, or say you're a Hamite, or you're a Canaanite under the curse of Ham. If he does his due diligence and research, he will tell you that you are an Israelite. I mean, this is what we need to start teaching people in schools and in church, that you are an Israelite. So therefore, don't let anybody tell you you can't be, that you're anti-Semitic because you are a descendant of Shem. In the whole world, the Jewish community and the ADL and the mass media outlets don't want black people going around telling people that they're the Israelites. Because then, if all these black people say that we're the Israelites, then how can you tell us that we're being anti-Semitic? We can't use that term. If white people say niggers and this and that, and they discriminate against us, if they put a noose up on their house, or they say die niggers and all that stuff, we can't go to the white community and say you're being anti-Semitic. This is hate speech. We can't do that. You know, if a cop kills a black person that's unarmed, we can't say the cop was anti-Semitic. We can't say that. But only one group of people is really using that term, and that's Jewish people. And who created that? Who created that term? Who made them the authority to say who can be a Shemitic person and who's not? How does man justify that? And if man's saying that, then we need to revisit that statement, and maybe we need to have a debate and debate this term Shemitic. And who was a descendant of Shem's 5 sons? Because Shem had 5 sons. He didn't have just one son named Jacob. Shem had 5 sons. So if we want to use the word Shemitic, then we have to be honest with ourselves and say, okay, well, who are the descendants of Shem worldwide? These are the people that can rightfully use the word anti-Shemitic. And therefore, do we need to have a debate in the court of law about this, or we need to have a debate at a university or college to seal the deal and nail this in the history books that black people are Shemitic and we cannot be called anti-Shemitic? Because this is why Kyrie Irving is in this whole mess, because he was being so-called anti-Semitic. This is the whole reason why they want the book and the movie taken down, because they're saying that it's an anti-Semitic book, a book in a movie that basically tells you that you're the Israelites.
Someone is asking you here, Ron, are all black people Israelites? Because you just said that there were 12 sons, right? So are all black people Israelites? Where are the other? Okay.
No, because in Africa you have different ethnic groups. Somalians, you got African Pygmies, you got Khoisan, you got Hausa, Fulani, Tuaregs. So you cannot look at the whole continent of Africa and say all these black people are Israelites. You got people in South Sudan that are very dark, they're very tall, like Manu Bo. They're in South Sudan. They don't do the same customs as the Bantu people do. They don't have the same DNA. They are not the same people as us, even though we're black. Different skin tones, different levels of melanin. You cannot say that black people are all the Israelites, because black is just a color. So we have to get down to the nitty gritty, into the facts. And the facts is that when I say black people, I mean black people in America and the black people that's in sub-Saharan Africa that were afflicted by the transatlantic slave trade. These black people were put on slave ships, not Pygmies, not Somalians, not the Nilots in South Sudan. They were not put on slave ships. The Bantu people were. So the Bantu people all have a connection in their DNA. And this DNA is seen in Caribbeans, it's seen in Black Americans, it's seen in Afro-Latinos. And so these black people, aka Negroes, these black people are the Israelites. Now the Israelites are scattered, and I talk about that in my movie, but the white Jews today, they are not the Israelites, and I can prove that.
Wow, and so really that's really what the issue is, because you are giving identity. Your research is giving identity to those of us, people like myself, who were, ancestors were brought over on this side of the world through slavery, and they're called the Bantu people. And you're saying that these are the people who are the Israelites, because it can be proven by DNA. Through DNA is what you're saying, culture, through art, through oral history, and and we've had there was a sister, and why can't I remember her name right now? Very lovely sister of ours, and she came on from Ghana, and so Seram Azanku, and Seram shows you through the history. Because she's Ghanaian, and about even the tassels and the type of material and words that are said, etc. And language, all of that it is the people who were enslaved, that they are the Israelites. This is oh my goodness. So somebody else. Yes, I know you have to go. We have more questions.
No, they imposed their religious teachings on us. Remember, the deities of the Chinese is not black. They look like them. The deities of the Indian people in South India or North India, their deities look like them. The deities of people in Scandinavia look like them. The deities of the Native American Indians before the white man got there look like them. The deities of Africans before the white man got here, they did not worship a white Jesus or white God. we have to look at the facts that of matter is that Christianity has brought a lot of confusion and misinformation in regards to the identity of the people that they enslaved. They don't want you to know in church who you really are. You know, we're reading the Bible, the Old Testament. We're reading Deuteronomy chapter 28. We're reading all these things, and they're like, well, you know, these white Jews are the Jews, and Jesus is white in my church. So who am I to challenge this? But when you're in Africa, like you're in Ghana, or you're in Congo, or you're in Kenya, or Tanzania, Cameroon, and you're reading the Bible, and you're reading the laws of Moses, and you're saying to yourself, wait a minute, we do this. We do this, 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 we do this. I said, wait a minute, we've been doing this before the white man got here. My grandparents and elders said they've been doing this for 100,000 years. So if we've been already doing this, how are they telling us that we're not the Israelites and that Jesus is white and the Jews are white when we were already doing these things before the white man even got here? People have to ask themselves this question: how are we doing these things, circumcising on the 8th day, and naming our child on the 8th day, and having a day of rest, and all these different laws, customs, traditions, dress, history, oral histories that's saying that we are the Hebrews, but we don't want to listen to that now because the white man came here and said that you're a Gentile. We just erase everything that we've been taught, we've been doing for centuries, because the white man came here with the Bible and he said that, you know, Jesus is white, the Jews are white. Look at Israel, look who's there right now. And we just believe it without asking any questions and without doing our own research and standing up for what's truth.
Someone is asking a question here. Are you saying that we are the chosen people, the descendants of Abraham?
Yes.
Yes, that's what he's saying. And another question: could this be why why Black people are uniformly hated, persecuted, and rejected universally? What do you think?
Yeah. Read Deuteronomy 28:15 to 68, and you'll see when you read those scriptures, it's talking about us. And that's your answer.
Repeat the scriptures again. Can you repeat it, please?
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter you got me Deuteronomy damn.
You said
my mind's all over. No, Deuteronomy 28.
28. Okay.
Deuteronomy 28, verse 15 through 68. Deuteronomy 28, 2:8, verse 15 through 68. That is the curses of Israel, of the real Israelites. So if you read those scriptures, these are the curses of the Israelites that were supposed to come upon their people and their descendants for generations upon generations. Because we did not keep the law of Moses, we disobeyed the law, the covenant, and because we disobeyed the law, we were subjected to the curses. And you see the fact that we don't keep the law to this day. We're not keeping the law to this day. We're killing each other. We're stealing. We are defrauding our neighbor. We're lying. We're committing adultery, fornication, immorality, sexual immorality, all types of things. When you look at our culture and society, we are not keeping the law. The Bible says to love your neighbor as yourself. That's in Leviticus 19. Leviticus 19 says, thus saith unto the children of Israel, Moses told the Israelites to love your Israelite neighbor as yourself. If we really loved our Jamaican, Haitian, Bahamian, African-American, Cuban neighbor as ourselves, we will have unity. We don't have no unity because we don't love people.
Thank you for that. You know, someone, questions are coming in. We're going to close up, but someone said to me yesterday, you know, a good brother, a friend of mine, he said, but Marcia, when you start to go down that road, you're not going to be able to keep your Christianity. You can't be a Christian and go down this road of believing that your identity, you are the seed of Abraham, that you are a Jew, and that you are, Marcia, that you are from the seed of Jacob, the line of Jacob. You're not going to be able to do that. And I know that there are Christians who are watching, whether from Jamaica, Trinidad, wherever in the Caribbean, St. Lucia, and they're thinking,
the reason why it's false is because the early disciples were Israelites. The early disciples were all Israelites, and they were followers of Christ. Even after Christ died and was resurrected and ascended to heaven, they were alive. They were still alive. They knew the gospel of Christ, what Christ told them, but they were Israelites. Paul was an Israelite. Paul was he lived after Christ. So after Christ died, went to heaven, Paul was still an Israelite. Paul did not denounce the fact that he is a descendant of Jacob. He still knew he was a Jew. He was an Israelite. He knew that. He said that to the Romans. Because the Romans said, "Aren't you an Egyptian?" And he said, "No, I'm a Jew from the tribe of Benjamin." But we know the word Jews is connected to what we would say today an Israelite. But Paul knew he was an Israelite. It's a scripture that says, "Am I not the seed of Abraham? Am I not an Israelite?" So Paul knows that he was an Israelite. So just because you're a Christian or you believe in the Old Testament and the New Testament doesn't mean you got to disregard your identity and your heritage and your lineage. At the end of the day, you can say all day long you're a Christian, but at the end of the day, your lineage, your ancestry goes back to Jacob, the Israelites. There's nothing wrong in saying you're an Israelite and saying that you believe in Christ. Nothing wrong with that. I believe in Christ. I believe in water baptism and the Holy Spirit and salvation through Christ. So that doesn't change anything about who I am, other than the fact that I know now, and I can teach to my children that you are an Israelite. You are not a Gentile. You're not a Canaanite or a Hamite, and that's a big difference.
Yeah. How do we reverse these curses that you spoke about in Deuteronomy 28, from verse 15 to 68? You said that there were curses. How do you reverse that? Because we are here. We're the Bantu people, and if you're saying that there's a curse on us, how is that going to be reversed, Dalton?
We come back to the Most High. We seek His face. We turn from our wicked ways, and we start keeping the law, statutes, commandments that the Bible teaches us that can heal our people in our land, in our nation. The Bible says, "My people who are called by my name," you know the scripture. It says, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, because you reject knowledge. I will forget your children and reject you as a people." So we have to understand that if we turn from our wicked ways and we come back to the Most High and start keeping His commandments. Jesus said this. He said, "If you love me, keep my commandments." Jesus said, "If you love me, keep my commandments." Now, if you ask any Christian, you say, "Is Jesus God?" They're going to say yes. So was Jesus talking to Moses on Mount Sinai? If Jesus is God, it was Jesus talking to Moses on Mount Sinai. They're going to have to say yes, because Jesus is God. Then you say, well, if Jesus said, "If you love me, keep my commandments," well, who did God give the commandments to? The Israelites. Where is that in the Bible? Deuteronomy, Leviticus. So things like love your neighbor, do not steal, do not murder, do not commit fornication, respect your elders, but keep the Sabbath holy. All these. There's so many laws in the Bible that if we were to practice them, we would not be in the predicament that we are in right now. If we really kept these laws. We wouldn't have poverty. We wouldn't have people out here that's needing help. We will all love one another and operate as a nation. When we operate as a nation, we don't have to ask other nations to help us, to send aid and to build this and build that. We don't have to do that, because we can take care of ourselves. That's what the ancient Israelites did when they were living in the land of Israel. They took care of themselves. King Solomon took care of the whole nation of Israel, made sure everybody was eating, working, and doing what they had to do, worshiping God. So we don't do these things. So that's the reason why we are a people that are always going to be defeated, because we're divided. Our house and our kingdom will not stand. These other kingdoms and other nations and governments and corporations, they rule over us and they humiliate us and they oppress us. And this is why Kyrie Irving is going through what he's going through, like he's being flogged by the slave master. And everybody's standing around like Kunta Kinte is being whipped in front of everybody. We're just standing around. Just like when Goliath kept taunting the Israelites, the whole Israelites and the army of the Israelites, and David, the youngest of the sons of Jesse, he stood around like, how is this uncircumcised man or giant, how is he defying the true children of Israel that worships the true living God and all the Israelite armies surrounding us? How is this one man defying the true living God and the army of Israelites that worship the true living God? How is this one uncircumcised man, Goliath, defying and putting fear into the heart of all these Israelites? And David's a little boy. He's a little boy. And he's standing around looking at these grown men that are warriors and priests and prophets that are looking like, well, we can't defeat Goliath. He's calling us out, saying if he defeats any one of us, then we're going to be his slaves, the Israelites. And so right now today in the 21st century, black people, if you pay attention to the news, we are in America, we're acting like just that. We're just standing back while one of our people are being flogged and whipped and whipped and whipped and whipped until he breaks down. And then the slave master says, "I've done my job. You guys seen that? Don't step to us no more. Otherwise, I'm gonna humiliate you. I'm gonna do this to you." And we as a black people in America, we just sit there. We just look at it. We don't say nothing because we don't have no unity. We have no unity. We have no love for each other, and we have fear. We're scared. We're scaredy cats. We don't have no backbone. We don't stand up for nothing. We just march. We just put our hands up. Don't shoot. Fist up. Stand. It's just they don't respect that. They don't respect that because that's truly not showing unity. When people rise up all together, that's when they start paying attention. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that.
What do you think should happen for Kyrie and also I would say Kanye? Because I heard Kanye saying, "I'm an Israelite." I heard him saying that. What should happen? Because we can't, rally around Kyrie and not around Kanye as well. I don't know if Kanye watched the movie, Hebrews to Negroes. So
the commissioner of the NBA is Jewish. The last commissioner of the NBA, David Stern, he's Jewish. The majority of the NBA is black people. If all the black players said, "We don't like what you're doing to our brother Kyrie," we're not playing no more until this stops. We're not playing no more games until this stops. If all black people in the NBA said we're not playing no more games until this stops, and they just said we're staying at home, we're just chilling. We're spending time with our family. You let us know when you stop this thing, we stop doing this to Kyrie, then we'll all come back to the NBA. The NBA, what are they gonna do? They're gonna cancel all the NBA players? All the black NBA players? No. If all the NBA players were united, truly united. That's like if the Zulus didn't like what was happening to a Zulu man, and they said, "You know what? If the majority of the NBA was Zulu, and they said we're not gonna let these people do this to our Zulu brother," and the Zulus said, even if 80% of the Zulus said we're not playing no more NBA games, the Zulus in South Africa, they have unity. They have unity, more unity than us in America. The NBA will be shut down. They will have a couple players come to the NBA, maybe 20% of the Zulus, but the majority of the NBA can't have games with only 20% people playing. So we have the power. We just don't utilize it. The NBA is all black, basically. Without black people, the NBA doesn't exist. The news channels don't have nothing to play. There's no merchandise. There's no commercials. There's nothing without the black people. But black people don't have unity. They sit back and let Kyrie be hung like he's being hung on a tree. And we don't do anything. It's amazing to see black people watching TV all across the world, and the NBA is watching. The NBA players are watching their own brother, Kyrie Irving, being humiliated, being flogged, and they sit back and do nothing. Because why? Because they care more about the people that's cutting their check and about themselves than about us as a people, as a nation, how we look right now. They care more about their money and their house and their car and how they're gonna feed their family than saying, "Hey, you know what? We got to stand up for something right now. Everybody, let's unite and let's not play." LeBron James can still play. He could say, "I'm playing," but if the majority of LeBron James teammates don't play, then he can't play.
There's someone said there's so many things happening. We have literally only more questions coming, but I would say only 10 more minutes. I went way over the time. Jeffrey Gay said there's a difference between religion and identity. You can be an Israelite Muslim, an Israelite Hindu, or an Israelite Christian. And I think that is what a lot of us we don't understand. So when we see the black in America, on the street side, Ronald, we see the black Hebrews, Israelites on the street side, and they're preaching and so on. And I think a lot of Christians are afraid that if they embrace their true identity, because a lot of them, they see it through the history, but they're afraid to embrace it because they believe that it means that they have to deny Christ in order to do that. And you're saying,
yeah, like the guy said, you can say that my ancestors are the Israelites, but I follow Islam. You can say my ancestors are the Israelites and you follow Brahma, Shiva, and Vishnu in the Hindu pantheon. you can say that I'm an Israelite and my ancestor is Jacob, but I follow Buddha. You know, you can say my ancestors were Israelite, but for some reason I follow Satan. I mean, at the end of the day, your ethnicity, your heritage, and your ancestry does not change because it's connected to your bloodline.
Yes.
But what you believe in your heart is that, you know, I'm an Israelite, but I just want to worship Satan. You know, so I'm a member of the Church of Satan, or I'm a Satanist, or whatever you want to call it. And but I still know that I'm an Israelite. You know, it's a correct statement. You know, so when you look at the Jewish people today, the Jewish people are the white race. They follow the religion called Judaism. That's what really makes them a Jew, in world standards. And they are the ancestry, lineage, and heritage of the children of Japheth, not the son of Shem, Japheth. So their true heritage, ancestry, and lineage is of the children of Japheth. It's in the Bible, Genesis chapter 10. They worship or follow the religion called Judaism, and they are the white race. That's who they are.
That's who they are. Okay, quite. Oh wow, this is power packed. So Kanye, what are your thoughts about Kanye, Mr. Dalton?
Well, Kanye, I mean, Kanye's Kanye. Kanye says a lot of stuff. I just think Kanye needs some direction on how he can use his platform and his voice and his money to catapult Black people into a positive direction, not just America, but the Caribbean and worldwide and Africa, because he does seem as though he's not standing down, and he believes in the truth and getting the truth out. He's not afraid to go against mainstream media and the Jews. It's just that we Kanye and Kyrie maybe need to sit down with some Israelite elders like myself and to see how we can strategize to make a powerful impact, being in light of what's happening. You got to understand, we have the power to spread this information to the world, to Africa, to America. We can go on a world tour. You can go on a world tour where you go to different states and cities in America, in the Caribbean, in Europe, in South America, in Africa, and you can start screening of the movie Hebrew Sneakers. You can start having conferences and dialogues and panel discussions about this information and waking up people in different countries, and even people that's in remote villages. They can start to know, hey, Kanye West, Kyrie Irving, Ron Dalton, and some of the Israelites are in town coming on this date and this time this month to your city, and there's going to be a panel discussion. There's going to be a conference, a webinar. There's going to be a movie screening, blah blah blah. And so we can start waking up the people that need to be woken up. We also, with their star power, with their money, Kanye West can build his own movie streaming platform like Netflix, where we can have our own content on there without any content review guidelines that tell us that, oh, you can't talk about the Holocaust, oh, you can't mention the word Jew or Khazaria, you can't say this, you can't say that. The content guidelines are put in place by the people that own these platforms. So if we control our own platform, then we don't have to say, filmmaker Ron Dalton, you can't say anything about black people being real Jews and Jews not being real Jews, because that's not in our content guidelines. You know, we can say that comfortably because we own it, and we can let it rip and let it ride, and we can let Black people all know, if you want to look at truth content movies like Hebrew Sneakers Wake Up Black America, you need to go to, you know, this streaming platform, and that's it. Because at the end of the day, the mass media, Hollywood, they control the narrative by allowing us to see what they want us to see, and by punishing those that go against this by telling them, telling Amazon, you got to take down Ron's movies and his books. That's how they control the situation and the narrative in America, because they don't want you to know that you're an Israelite and that they're not the Israelites. They want you to keep watching slave movies and gangbanger movies, and movies that are drama filled with Black people committing all the sins that are listed in the Bible.
Can I say that is what Kanye was speaking about? That's one of the things that he spoke about when he talked about the Jews, that the kind of entertainment that they are sponsoring, that they are, in terms of record deals and just entertainment and Hollywood. And so I think those are some of the comments that got Kanye in trouble. And I also heard Kanye saying, well, how can I be anti-Semitic? He said, I'm an Israelite. You know, I don't know if he watched the movie, but do you know Kyrie? Do you know Kyrie? Ronald, have you had conversation before this with him?
No, no, I've never
No.
talked to Kyrie or Kanye. They don't email me, they don't call me, they don't DM me, they don't contact me at all. None of them. I find that strange. That their publicist or their assistant, nobody from Kyrie or Kanye West group or camp, not camp, but associates. They don't reach out to me. I mean, I've had media platforms like Newsweek, Washington Post, CNN, other different platforms. They contacted me for an interview or just to just have a discussion, but yet Kyrie and Kanye West and none of these big name black people like Dr. Boyce Watkins and Candace Owens and Umar Johnson's and I mean, they have not reached out as of yet, and I'm just like, well, at the end of the day, I'm still standing strong. I'm not apologizing, and I'm not backing down. And they could take the movies down on Amazon. They could take the movies down on Vimeo and all the platforms that they have power and control over. But we can continue to build other platforms where we can stream movies independently without any content restrictions. And that's what I'm working on right now. So if you go to www.thenegronetwork.com, pretty soon, in about a week or so, we'll have information on where you can stream the movie Hebrews to Negroes outside of Amazon and outside of these platforms that control us. And they are under the jurisdiction of the ADL and the Jews, because the ADL and the Jews can report to a platform that this is hate speech, this is anti-Semitic, because they have that right, because they have the content guidelines that are in that platform that they control. So when we create our own platform that does not have to abide by these content guidelines, then we can do whatever we want. So in addition to h2ntv.com, I'm working on another website. It's going to be called Hebrews to Negroes TV.com. Hebrews.
Okay, so let me put that. Hebrews to Negroes.
So basically how it's spelled out right there, Hebrews to Negroes TV.com is going to be the other website that's coming soon, where you can stream the movie Hebrews to Negroes and other movies without any of these content guidelines that they have on Amazon. Well, Amazon had it, but Amazon has it, but Amazon approved my movie. It already went through the screening process, so it already was approved by Amazon. So they're screening process. No, it's actually Hebrews with a T-O Negroes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not done yet, but we're working on it. Hebrews T-O Negroes TV.com. And so that's the thing. Amazon has a problem because they already reviewed the movie. It passed their content guidelines screening process 4 years ago, and if they take it down, now they are at risk for having legal action taken against them, for them to explain how after 4 years and Ron Dalton passing the content review process, how is it now that you're saying that it's not appropriate for Amazon when they're already past your content review process that took 3 months to do?
So, isn't it strange that Amazon has not received any kind of penalty, has not been canceled, and Amazon is still showing this movie? You can still purchase the movie on Amazon or watch the movie on Amazon. However, Kyrie is being flogged, and you are being flogged because you can't show on Vimeo. But why is it that the powers that be, they aren't touching, what's his name, Jeff Bezos? They're not touching him at all. Why do you think that is?
Well, you already know the answer to that. I mean, Amazon's too big to be touched, and you already know the people that are running Amazon and Netflix and Vudu and all these other platforms is not black people. And you know, there are people that are part of racial groups or ethnic groups or religions that do have a lot of power. Hollywood and in these streaming platforms, we have to understand these things. They have a lot of power, and this power is reflected by what's going on right now. And you know, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, you know, YouTube, Google, these social media platforms, they are controlled by non-black people, and therefore, you know, you can say things on there, and then in 1 minute you got a strike, next minute you got 2 strikes, next minute you got 3 strikes, and you're done on YouTube. You can be put in Facebook jail. You can be shut out of Twitter. You can be shut out of just like Kanye West. Kanye West got shut out of all these social media platforms, and Chase Bank told him he couldn't use that bank anymore. Chase Bank said you can't use that. You can't use our bank anymore. So now Kanye West came and accessed his money because the bank told him you got to go somewhere else in 30 days. So we got to understand J.P. Morgan Chase was one of the people that was a part of Jekyll Island and the creation of the United States Federal Reserve. So the whole thing, when they created the Federal Reserve and the ability to print money on demand in America, because the Federal Reserve is not a government institution, Jekyll Island and the Jekyll Island Club, because they had purchased Jekyll Island before they had the Jekyll Island meeting. So Jekyll Island was a club, and the club consisted of J.P. Morgan Chase. And so J.P. Morgan Chase and his buddies like Warburg, they purchased Jekyll Island so they can have these little secret meetings. They had these meetings, and the meeting that was most detrimental was the creation of the Federal Reserve Bank in 1913. So before that, the United States presidents like Andrew Jackson was trying not to let the Jews have complete control over the government and the banking system. That's why they tried to assassinate Andrew Jackson. But when you create banking crises and you create the Panic of 1907, which led to the creation of the Federal Reserve Bank, United States of America, you see these are the things that are happening behind the scenes in the American government. There's all types of levels of extortion, which include bribery and blackmail. So when you look at extortion, you got to talk about blackmail and bribery. So a lot of times in terms of the government and the political systems and the banking systems, you know, people have had their lives taken away, like JFK, what's the name? Abraham Lincoln. They were assassinated. Andrew Jackson they tried to kill him. So when somebody goes against the narrative, whether it's the president of Haiti, the president of Uganda, the president of Madagascar, or wherever, you know, or even Patrice Lumumba, you know, he became the president of Congo, and somebody didn't like that, so they got rid of him. You know, so we got to understand that there are powerful people throughout the whole world that are trying to continue their agenda, their goals, their visions. And if you're stepping away, then they're going to try to handle you. And we as a people, black people, we don't realize the power that we have. And so, you know, Kanye West, Kyrie, everybody's talking about it on TV and media, but nobody black, rich, poor, famous or not famous, they're not saying, let's all come together. Let's all build Kanye up, Kyrie up. Ron Dalton, he don't have as much money as Kyrie, and Kanye West, he's being attacked. They're trying to take down his livelihood on Amazon, his books. And they want to take down my books and my movie. They want to take down my books and my movie. So if they take down my books and my movie, the royalty checks from Amazon stop coming. Meanwhile, I got a family to feed. I got 8 kids and a wife I got to take care of, and they just took down my book royalties and my DVD royalties. And they're trying to attack any other platform that has H2N stuff on it, like H2N TV. So they're trying to financially destroy Kanye. They're trying to financially destroy Kyrie. They're trying to financially destroy Ron Dalton, even though I don't have millions of dollars like these guys do. They might have investments, businesses. They might have money in offshore accounts, but Ron Dalton doesn't have that. I'm just a regular guy. But we don't see the black community saying we're going to all start donating to Ron Dalton. We're going to start lifting him up in terms of finances. How do we cash out Ron? How do we PayPal Ron? How do we Zelle Ron? How do we support this guy? You can't just say, our prayers are with you, Ron Dalton. Keep up the good work. Stand strong. We with you. We're standing by your side. Everybody can say this all the time. But imagine if you got millions of people following me, watching what I'm saying. They're giving me claps and thumbs up and high fives. But all these people, they got $5 in the bank account. They got $10 in the bank account. They got $20 in the bank account. If I say on YouTube, promote, support, donate. You know, they're trying to financially destroy me, like Kanye and Kyrie. Can you support a brother? They're gonna say, well, Ron Dalton, you should got a lot of money from Amazon. Well, nobody knows my pockets. Nobody knows how many people have rented the movie on Amazon. They might think 100 million people rented the movie already. That's not the case. They may say 1 million people rented your movie. How do they know that? How do they know that? I mean, I can have the H2N TV. I can say donate to my Cash App. When I look at my bank account or I look at my email, do I see 200,000 people subscribe to H2N TV? No. So we have to understand, just because you have 100,000 views, 200,000 views, and I'm on the video and subscribe to H2N TV. 200,000 people have seen that video. Do you think I got at least 50,000 people to subscribe to H2N TV overnight? No. If I said donate to Cash App Hebrews to Negroes on that video that has 200,000 views, do you think that at least 50,000 people are going to donate $5 or $10 to Ron Dalton? The answer is no. Because black people, we just look, we observe, we give the thumbs up, we clap, we say, I like this video. But then we don't do it. We don't have any action. No action at all. No action. We say we support our leaders, we support Kyrie, we support Kanye West, we support Ron Dalton, but people actions speak louder than words.
Correct.
So say for instance, the Jews and the ADL takes down everything. Amazon, Vimeo, H2N TV, and I'm sitting here and I can't pay my rent. I can't feed my kids. I can't do anything. Are the black community going to say, let's all donate to Ron so we can make sure he's okay, so he can continue to do what he's doing? They're gonna say, well, Ron, what's the next movie coming out? I can't make the movie because I'm broke.
Correct.
Ron, can I come join your team? What team? I'm broke. They destroyed my finances. You know,
so people from the Caribbean who are watching and they want to stay in touch with you, what number do I give them, or a number and they reach you, or do you want me to give her
my email? My email is Hebrews to Negroes, TONEGROES @yahoo.com.
Okay, so Hebrews to Negroes
@yahoo.com.
@yahoo.com.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put that up, guys. Hebrews to Negroes
@yahoo.com.
Yes. Okay. So, all right. Thank you so much, Ronald Dalton. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I know we have some work to do here in the Caribbean, right? We have some work to do here in the Caribbean. And I think, the time is coming.
You know, Marcia, people will say to me, we want you to come to the United Kingdom and show the movie. We want you to come to Jamaica, to Barbados, to Haiti, to Bahamas, to Antigua, whatever. They say, we want you to come to Ghana, Togo. We want you to come to Nigeria, to Congo, Kenya, Tanzania, Senegal. And I'm looking at them like, okay, well, who's going to pay for all this? You know, they say, well, Ron, why don't you do a movie and go into Africa and start interviewing the tribes, just like the Jews do, and do a documentary? Why don't you do it, Ron? You should do that. Why don't you do a movie about Jesus being black? I'm like, okay, well, what money? Who's gonna pay for this? Who's gonna pay for the camera team, the flight team, the food, everything? Who's gonna pay for all these things? Lodging, transportation, taking time off work and away from my family. How they gotta be taken care of too. I got bills to still need to be paid. Who's gonna pay for all this? And people have no answers. We have a lot of wishful thinking and ideas, but when it comes down to the money, we can't do nothing without money. And because we're not unified, because we don't have a unifying body, like a Jewish filmmaker can go right now and say, I'm doing a documentary on this, and I need $1 million. And within like a month, he can have $500,000 raised by different Jewish organizations and people across the world. Because he put out a call that I'm a filmmaker, living in Israel. I want to fly to Europe. I want to fly to Africa. I want to fly here and do a documentary. And this is what I need. This is how to donate. The Jewish people will start donating. They'll start donating right away. And then you wonder why are they in Nigeria? How are they in Uganda? How are they in Zimbabwe? How are they in Ethiopia? How are these Jews and these camera crew affording all this? This Jewish guy. How are they doing it? Young guy, like 20, 30 years old. How are they able to afford this? Because they got the funding. They help one another. So they can put out a documentary about the black Jews in Africa and tell it from their perspective because they have the funds to do so. We don't have the funds to go into the Caribbean, into Africa and America and start doing a documentary and make it a quality production with a team because nobody supports the filmmakers like me and you to do these things.
So the people have to understand that, you know what, we need support, and we have to come together. We have to unite. I know it sounds cliche, but one of the first things you can do, everybody on here, there are two things you can do, is to share this live. We are no longer live on Carib Vision. We have gone past the time that they said, but I know that people have been watching. And you can email Ronald Dalton Hebrews to negroes@yahoo.com. And importantly, share this. Share this, because the truth needs to come out. The film does not promote anti-Semitism. It does not. I've watched the film. It all it's doing is telling us about our identity. That's all it is. It's a film of love. And
that's anti-Semitic in America to tell your
to tell us about our identity. That's all that it is. And it's not denying the Holocaust as people are saying. It's not true. It's a complete lie. It's not doing those things. All right. And I think that we just need to keep it going, guys. Share this. Please share this. All right. Thank you so much, Ronald Dalton. We're going to stay in touch, and we're going to do something together. All right. Thank you so much. God bless you.
All right. Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Yeah, Jamaicans, true Israelites. We love to see the wake up in our place. Because we remember, it's not Jesus going to come back, it's Yeshua. True Israelites, yard people.
Let me speak to them.
Yeah, so what's your name?
I'm Kweku.
Kweku from the Fanti tribe?
Elmina, Elamina, ancient town, Elamina.
Okay.
Which is Edina. We black people, don't forget about where we born. As long as you're a black man or black woman, you are Hebrew or you are Israelite, because it's a one thing. You see it? But Babylon them just divide it so that you could know where we're coming from, where we are going. And now you know yourself. That is why you touch the land. So my brothers, my sisters, you all, we are welcome. We are waiting for them.
They come home.
The mafia come home.
You're like Marcus Garvey said.
And that is a prophecy. So the prophecy must be fulfilled. And this is the time the prophecy must be fulfilled. So we need you all.
All right.
One love, one heart.
Open my eyes, I cannot deny the feel inside of me. Oh, I am not ashamed, I am not ashamed. I wanna be wanna be free, yeah. Well, I open my eyes to see the blood streaming down your seams, blood and the water